Hello, hi, my name is C.M. Manjunath. I'm here to teach you about digital marketing. I've been in the field of digital marketing doing real-life projects with small and medium businesses for the last 6 years. And I've been training for the last 3 years. This is my first ever video training, so welcome to the digital marketing training. I hope you learn a bunch about digital marketing. So, what are you going to learn in this digital marketing course? We are going to take a 360-degree view of the digital marketing, right from developing a website on WordPress to doing SEO or search engine optimization, and then moving on to Google AdWords, which is PPC or pay per click. And then we are going to also learn about social media, how to advertise on the very popular social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. Then we will also look at affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing has been one of the biggest sources of revenue for many internet marketers. And then we'll also look at email marketing, which is another powerful way to market your products and services online. And then finally, we'll wrap the whole thing up with Google Analytics, understanding user behavior on your website, and so on and so forth. I'm very excited. I hope you're excited for the course too. So we are going to talk about how the internet actually works. Which image instantly comes to your mind when you think about the internet? For most people, it's the clouds. They look up when they think about internet. But even in this current world of cloud computing, that's not true. Internet, think of internet as this one really long wire that's buried underneath the ground, right underneath your feet. Now, this wire transmits data. Internet is basically a network of computers, and all these computers are networked through this one wire called the internet. This wire that I call internet could be copper wire, or it could be the fiber optics, or sometimes it could also be the rays beamed through the satellite, right? Now, these are all different ways, but essentially this is how we connect to the internet. A web server is a computer that's directly connected to this wire, okay, also called the internet. A communication happens between one web server to another. The data is being transmitted through this wire called the internet. Now, the files or the web pages are basically the files on those web servers, okay? Every time you see a website, the pages on those websites are like the files on the hard disk of that server, okay? Now, every server actually has a unique ID. Just like you have a physical address, like a home address or an office address, just like that, every web server on the internet actually has something called an IP address, also called as Internet Protocol address, that uniquely identifies that is the web server. In order for people to understand the IP address, we give it names like www.facebook.com or www.google.com. They are essentially the IP addresses of the web servers of each of those companies. Now, every server needs to be connected to this internet in order to communicate. Now, think about this. If you are using a laptop or a PC at home, when you do some, let's say, a chat or send an email, you're not directly communicating on the internet, in the sense it's not really connected to the internet directly. Your client PC is actually connected to your internet service provider, who in turn is connected to the internet, right? So in a way, you're indirectly connected to the internet, not really through your own PC, but through the internet service provider. Okay, now if you understand that concept clearly, it's amazing. You're among the very few people who truly understand how the internet actually works. In the next topic, we are going to understand how the Google search engine works. Which image instantly comes to your mind when you think about the internet? For most people, it's the clouds. They look up when they think about internet. But even in this current world of cloud computing, that's not true. Internet think of internet as this one really long wire that's buried underneath the ground, right underneath your feet. Now, this wire transmits data. Internet is basically a network of computers, and all these computers are networked through this one wire called the internet. This wire that I call internet could be copper wire, or it could be the fiber optics, or sometimes it could also be the rays beamed through the satellite, right? Now, these are all different ways, but essentially this is how we connect to the internet. A web server is a computer that's directly connected to this wire, okay, also called the internet. A communication happens between one web server to another. The data is being transmitted through this wire called the internet. Now, the files or the web pages are basically the files on those web servers, okay? Every time you see a website, the pages on those websites are like the files on the hard disk of that server, okay? Now, every server actually has a unique ID. Just like you have a physical address, like a home address or an office address, just like that, every web server on the internet actually has something called an IP address, also called as Internet Protocol address, that uniquely identifies that is the web server. In order for people to understand the IP address, we give it names like www.facebook.com or www.google.com. They are essentially the IP addresses of the web servers of each of those companies. Now, every server needs to be connected to this internet in order to communicate. Now, think about this. If you are using a laptop or a PC at home, when you do some, let's say, a chat or send an email, you're not directly communicating on the internet, in the sense it's not really connected to the internet directly. Your client PC is actually connected to your internet service provider, who in turn is connected to the internet, right? So in a way, you are indirectly connected to the internet, not really through your own PC, but through the internet service provider. Okay, now if you understand that concept clearly, it's amazing. You're among the very few people who truly understand how the internet actually works. Now we are going to talk about the origins of the internet. It was in 1960s, the American federal government commissioned a brand new research project through the ARPA, also known as Advanced Research Projects Agency Network, to build a very powerful system. It was a communication system between computers to transmit or exchange information. It was not until 1980s that this came to fruition. Internet came into picture more prominently during the 1980s. More importantly, from the military or the ARPANET, from the 1980s, people or businesses in real world started embracing the internet. Think of internet like the very starting days of the business itself. So the brochures, whatever businesses had as brochures in real life, were actually digitized, and these were like online brochures. That's all they were. This was in the 1980s, and like any product or service, with new business comes great competition. So there was competition, and many businesses wanted to have their own websites. With more websites coming up, there was no real good way to organize information that was there. Many people weren't aware which websites to go to, which businesses to check out. And that's when directories came into picture. If you remember back in the days when we had the telephones, like the landline, we used to have these yellow pages. The yellow pages were called the telephone directories. It had the phone number, the name, address of the person, and so on and so forth. It could also be about the business, of course. Now, internet and websites had to go through something very similar, right? So with the internet and the websites coming up, like mushrooming all over the place, there was a need for a directory. A directory was like one place where the websites could be listed. And back in the days, it was listed based on the category of the business, the name of the business, of course, the website URL, followed by which location they were in. For example, if it was in Bangalore, Bangalore was a part of Karnataka, Karnataka a part of India, India as a part of Asia, and so on and so forth. So that kind of detailed information is what the directories actually had. Now, with directory coming up, you could have as many websites as possible. Unfortunately, there were also many different directories that mushroomed at the same time. So again, this whole world of internet was really messy, right? It was very disorganized. Even now, it's not 100%. Lot of disorganized information all over the internet. So that's how the directories were then moved into a concept called search engines. We are going to talk about the origins of the search engine. In the last topic, we did discuss about how internet came about and then the directories. Now we are going to step into the search engines. So this is going to be very interesting. Content on the internet back in the days, I'm talking about late 80s and early 90s, was very disorganized, like I told you. Even now, the content on the internet is disorganized to a large extent, but we made a lot of progress. Like I told you, the directories mushroomed all over the place. Some of them were paid, some of them were free, but essentially they did not have any value. They did not really provide what people were looking for. Hence, there was a need for something like a search engine. So early 90s saw the very first search engine in the history of the internet. It was called Archie Query Form. So it was a beautiful little search engine that allowed people to search online, right? Within a couple of years, with the success of Archie Query Form, there were many other search engines that came into picture as well. One of the very popular ones back in the days, it was 1994, was InfoSeek. That's INFOSEEK, InfoSeek, that came into picture. Now this company was so powerful or so successful that it was later acquired by then very powerful America Online, or AOL. In the same year, Yahoo Search, another big player in the internet world back in the days, came up with its own search engine. So did AliWeb, Web Crawler, and Lycos that came up as search engines, you know, that really wanted to fill that need in the market. Web Crawler was very powerful. It was the very first crawler-based search engine. Whatever we have today, like including Google and Bing, are actually crawler-based. So Web Crawler was the first ever crawler-based search engine in the market. This was in 1994 as well. And I'm sure people would have heard of companies like Excite, Alta Vista, some of the other popular search engines back in the days. 1996 marked the beginning of one of the breakthrough search engines in the world. Welcome Backrub. Backrub was a web crawler. It was actually a search engine, but it worked on a different concept called backlinks. It worked on a concept of citations. Now think about this. If you were to talk about, let's say, the gravitation, the theory of gravitation, for example, it's obvious that you are going to refer to Isaac Newton, right? Gravity, Isaac Newton. It's already an established concept by this an authority figure like Isaac Newton, who's already spoken about gravitation. Likewise, if you have some amazing content on your website, if a lot of people quote you as the authority, obviously that content is something special. So this new website or the new search engine called Backrub worked on this concept, the concept of backlinks, meaning if I have a website and I created content on my website and there are like 100 websites that refer to my content, they cite my content on their websites, then it means that the content that I offer is of value to a lot of people. So Backrub worked on this concept, the concept of citing the authority content, and therefore it gained a lot of traction. People all around the world, with no advertisement, literally, these people were able to succeed to a large extent. But a little intro about this backrub. It was started by two very brilliant individuals. They were PhD students of computer science from the Stanford University. These two people used their approach of creating thesis. When they wrote their thesis, they were referring and quoting or citing authority figures and what was already established in their field of study. So they use the exact same approach in the world of internet to organize the information. Like I told you, the information was pretty disorganized at the time. Now, these two brilliant individuals are none other than Sergey Brin and Lawrence Page. That's Sergey Brin, Lawrence Page, also called as Larry Page, the co-founders of the Google search engine. Not until 1998, this backrub was full-fledged, launched as a new company, a brand new company, and they named it Google. So that's how the Google search engine actually came into picture. Now, Google is a very complex system. We all understand that. But the concept, the foundations of how Google works is rather simple. Now, Google uses a software program called crawlers. When you create a website, for example, and you create content on your website, these crawlers go there, fetch the content from that website. They go to the website, look at the page, in the sense scan the page initially, read the content on that, and then even take a snapshot like a picture. They then take this information to their database or the server, and this process of actually storing this information is called indexing. And finally, when you go to Google and search something like best pizza India, for example, you're going to get results not from the internet, but actually from Google's database. Essentially, that's how it works. Whenever you are searching something on Google, Google doesn't go out searching for that information on the internet. It does this well beforehand. Actually, it actually goes to these websites the moment the content is created, fetches the data, puts it on its index, organizes the whole thing, does the ranking, all just ready, waiting for you, so that when you type something, it's going to show you the results right up there in a fraction of a second. Isn't that amazing? That's how Google search engine actually works. While Google does the indexing of the different websites, organizing and ranking, the good thing and a great thing actually about Google is the fact that Google does not take money in order to rank websites. That's the beauty of search engine optimization. Google does not take money to crawl, index the content more, or to even rank. It's all based on organic, meaning naturally. In this session, we are going to cover the details of the functions of a search engine, the tasks that the search engine actually undertakes. Like I told you in the previous session, what Google search engine or Google crawlers actually do is initially they go into the website, scan the content, read what's there, and then take a snapshot of that. Now that is the first step in the functions of a search engine, the tasks of a search engine, that's crawling. It's amazing how Google as a search engine can really understand who wrote the content, for example. If I wrote a blog post and the next day somebody else wrote a blog post on my own website, Google can actually differentiate that. It can understand that the content written is not by me for the second day. It is very interesting how this whole thing is captured and then taken to its index, which is the second task or the second function of a search engine. It actually takes this information, grabs it and puts it on its server. That's called indexing. And within the indexing, like I told you, the process involves a little bit of a complex system. Okay? It considers more than 200 different factors in order to organize this content, rank this content, so that when somebody actually searches on Google, It shows the most relevant, most accurate, and the one piece of content that's got most number of backlinks, and so on and so forth. So there are literally 200 different factors that Google actually considers in order to rank a piece of content on its Google search engine results page. By the way, Google search engine results page is also called as Google SERP, S-E-R-P. So that's a technical term. If you come across something like that during the interviews, don't be alarmed. It just means Google search engine results page. All right, so now we've looked at crawl, which is the first step, indexing, which is the second step. That brings us to the third and the final step. When you go to Google and search something, what it actually does is respond to your query, which is nothing but going to its index, pulling up the most relevant information and showing it to you, displaying it to you on Google search engine results page. Now that part is called serving. 3 functions, very simple: crawl, index, and serve. Those are the functions of a search engine. Hopefully this was informative. Thank you very much for your time. In the next section, we are going to talk something even more interesting: the way search engine optimizers use different techniques to rank on Google. So now we are going to talk about an interesting topic called SEO techniques. Like I told you, Google has 200 different factors that it considers in order to rank a website on Google search engine. But obviously, when I said organic, it also meant natural. Google is going to rank a website, and in order to rank a website, experts say it can take anywhere between 4 to 8 months. And of course, it also depends on the competition for a specific keyword or the search query. Now, not everybody has the patience of really waiting for 4 to 8 months for their business to show up on Google, to drive traffic to their website, to convert that traffic and make money. So there are a few very greedy people who actually look at shortcuts. They look for loopholes within the Google's algorithm. They're going to look at shortcuts to rank on Google quickly, but it can be very short-lived. Why? Because Google is filled with PhDs and engineers who are some of the world's most smartest people. Very soon, sooner than later, they are definitely going to catch these loopholes, and the websites could be penalized. So the techniques that people use are of 3 types. Number 1, Google has its guidelines. If you go to Google, search for something like Google Webmaster Guidelines, it's going to list you all the guidelines that Google considers in order to rank your website, in order to make your website accessible when Google crawls and indexes. If you follow those guidelines, it's good for you. Your website is going to rank, and it's going to be long term, which is great. Like I told you, however, it's going to take some time. You need to have the patience. The people who follow the Google's Webmaster Guidelines, they are called white hat practitioners. That's called white hat SEO. If you followed the Google's guidelines, it's as simple as that. Go to Google, type Webmaster Guidelines, you're going to get that right there, the first result. Read that, follow that, and you're going to be fine. On the other hand, there are people, like I said, who are a little impatient, who look at the loopholes. Instead of holding the spirit of doing a good search engine optimization, they look for loopholes and shortcuts. They can rank pretty quickly, but they could also be out of Google's search results or Google's index completely if they followed a practice that is not really following the Google's guidelines. So people who do not follow the Google's guidelines are called black hat practitioners. And the technique is called black hat SEO. Okay? So I hope that's clear. You follow Google's guidelines, you are considered white hat practitioner, and that is white hat SEO. On the other hand, if you did a bad job looking for shortcuts, want to rank higher pretty quickly, you could do that, but it will be short-lived because Google is going to catch you. That's black hat SEO. Somewhere in between, there is also another hat, and that hat color is gray. Gray hat SEO is when you are not too sure whether what you're doing is white or black hat practicing. Unfortunately, what you do, if it falls under the umbrella of black hat, your website is going to be penalized. Now, when I say penalized, what do I mean? There have been many websites, including really big names in the world: Washington Post, Mozilla, WordPress, BMW. Such big companies have been actually penalized by Google because they failed to follow the Google's guidelines. At the end of the day, Google sets the guidelines. It's our job to follow, to make it easy on our users as well as Google, so that everybody wins. Again, I hope this session was really helpful. These are the three different SEO techniques that people use. White hat, follow the Google guidelines. Black hat, go against Google's guidelines. When you're unsure, you're somewhere in between, it's called gray hat. Thank you very much. In the next section, we are going to talk about the types of SEO, some of the most important ones that you're going to learn in the near future. Now, we are going to talk about one of the most key elements of search engine, the types of SEO that you can actually do. We've established the fact that you should be following Google's guidelines, and I've also given you the link. Just go to Google, type in Webmaster Guidelines, and you should be able to get the guidelines. Once you do that, we move on to the next stage, which is what kind of SEO? Where do I start, right? Those are some of the questions that creep into the mind when you're starting off. Fret not, I'm here to help you. First step is to ensure that you get the content on your website right. How do we do that? There is something called On-Page SEO. That is on-page search engine optimization. How do we do that? Well, if you have some piece of content that you're creating for your website, let's say it's a blog post, obviously you'll have to research, understand what people are looking for, and then find out what search queries will people actually use. And then it's very simple. Implement those search queries as a part of your content. And I'm going to list you a few things where that keyword needs to be placed very strategically. And if you did that well, your on-page SEO will be very good. And believe it or not, on-page SEO carries humongous weight. It can have a big positive impact on your overall Google ranking. So I'm going to take you one step at a time within on-page SEO. Once we do that, we are slowly going to transition into something called off-page SEO. You might have the most beautiful, most useful content in the world, but if that content is not seen by people, if it's not distributed to the right target, then that content is going to sit there on your website. Nobody comes to your website, nobody engages. That's a loss. Instead, in off-page SEO, which is the next step, I'm going to teach you how to take that beautiful content that you worked so hard for and really promote it in the right channels to the right target audience, so that you will get a ton of traffic, not just any traffic, but the most relevant traffic that will love your content and they'll come back for more. That's off-page SEO. And last but not the least, I'm going to take you through something called blended results. Now, when you go to Google, for example, you do a search for email marketing or how to do email marketing. You're going to get results that are both text, which is nothing but blogs. Then you're going to get some YouTube videos or other websites videos. Also, you're going to get a bunch of images. You see, it's a blend of text, videos, as well as images. Google has come up with this amazing concept that not everybody is going to be excited by text or text alone. So to cater to the different needs of people, for some people who are more visual in terms of learning, who prefer to watch a video and learn, and so on and so forth, Google shows these blended or mixed results. I'm going to show you exactly how to optimize your website and your content on other websites, like when you create a YouTube video, how to optimize that. You click a beautiful picture, how to optimize that and upload it to flickr.com, for example. You know, all of these are going to play a role in the Google search results. LinkedIn, for example, if you're going to be a search engine optimizer and you want to be known as the SEO expert, you can target that keyword, SEO expert, and optimize your LinkedIn profile for that keyword, and you could rank for that on Google. Very interesting times, don't you agree? You can learn to rank not just for your website content, but also other people's websites content as well. On-page SEO, off-page SEO, blended search results optimization. Very important things to learn as a part of search engine optimization. Now, in this section, you're going to learn about some of the lesser known factors that's going to have a huge impact on your ranking, on Google ranking. One of them is called the user signals, the click-through rate or CTR. Now, when I search for something like how to prepare pizza at home, for example, that's a search query, there are 10 organic results that you're going to see on Google search engine results page. Most people want to click through on the first few results, and that's why ranking on Google is so crucial for your website success. How many people actually click on your website's link and get to the website? Again, how many times are people actually going to click on your website's link and go to your website? That is click-through rate. Click-through rate is a formula, by the way. It is a percentage of how many times Google displayed your website as a part of his search result and how many people actually click through. It's as straightforward as possible. How many times did Google actually display your website as a part of the search results, and how many people clicked on it and went to the website? So that's number of clicks divided by number of impressions. Impressions are nothing but how many times Google displayed your site as a part of the search result. Clicks divided by impressions into 100. It's in a percentage because it's click-through rate, which is in percentage. Now that's a very important factor in order for your ranking to get even better. Google looks at how often people click through, find your content interesting, and therefore click-through rate is one factor. The second one, and equally important, is the amount of time spent by the user on your website. So I'm a visitor, I search for how to prepare pizza at home, and your website is like the second result. I just click on that, go to the website, but I don't find anything interesting. Either the navigation is bad or the content is just not attracting me. What do? I either X out of it or go back to Google and look for the next result. You see, that represents a bad user experience. You can't have that. Your website should entice people with great content, and that's why creating good content with amazing pictures and videos and all that can make the customer or the user actually stay on your website, spend a little more time, and that also has a direct impact on your Google search engine ranking. Last but not the least, even the engagement. When you write a piece of content, if people comment on that, if they leave their own points of view, if they like or just basically scroll through and come down to the page, all that shows that the user actually interacted on your website on that piece of content. Google even considers that. Like I told you, Google considers more than 200 factors in order to rank you on its search engine results page. And to get all those details is going to be impossible, and Google doesn't reveal all of its 200 factors that it considers to rank. That's why we have the handy-dandy tool of Google Webmaster Guidelines. Very useful. I'm going to walk you through step by step as well, but do check it out. It's very useful. For now, think on these lines. Your website content needs to be enticing. It needs to be useful for people so that they engage on your website. And if your website does show up on Google search results, make sure your headline or title is really good so that people click and go to your website. Click-through rate, time spent on the website, and the amount of engagement on your website, crucial for your online success, or at least the search engine success. In this topic, we are going to really get into the specific guidelines within the quality guidelines. Actually, Google has listed a few illicit practices. Like I told you already, do not think that it is limited to only these and that you could do something deceptive or manipulative that doesn't fit into these categories. If you did that, you could still be in trouble. Okay, anything manipulative, anything deceptive to the users or search engines is trouble. Okay, so consider yourself warned. I'm going to go ahead with the specific guidelines now. We look at the specific guidelines. I have a bunch of them already open for you. So we're going to look at individually, right? We'll see what does each one actually mean and how it could result in a bad experience for the user, okay? So we don't want that to happen. We don't want bad experience for the users, for our customers, do we? So first one, if you notice in the list, is automatically generated content. Automatically generated content or auto-generated content, as you can see, is something that's done programmatically. You use software programs that generate content automatically without human intervention. So you put some content, it remixes it, and processes that words, and then pushes out something like it's brand new original content, which is not in this case because it's not actually written by a human being, but a computer software program. And Google also says that text that makes no sense to the reader, but it may contain the search keywords that the users are searching for, is not a good thing. That is an automatically generated content. Text translated by an automated tool without human review or curation before publishing. So before you publish your content on your website, if the website has content that is not reviewed by you or your fellow human beings, then there is trouble, right? If it doesn't make sense, it's not going to be useful for the user, and Google is not going to like it. Text generated through automated processes, text generated using automated synonymizing or obfuscation techniques. Well, synonymizing and obfuscation means just confusing content or using words and finding the meanings of those words and trying to use them on your website. Anyway, all these are considered deceptive techniques. Do not do auto-generated content. Write content that is original and reviewed by you before it is published on your website. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the next one in this list, which is link schemes. So my potential search engine optimizers, remember this. Website ranking on Google is dependent on many different factors, and one of the biggest factors is backlinks. If you remember, what set Google apart from the rest of the search engines was the backlinks, the citations, if you remember. Now, if people understood that backlinks are going to be crucial for your ranking, while some people followed the right approach of getting the backlinks, some black hat practitioners, some people who are looking at shortcuts to rank on Google decided to do something called link schemes. What is a link scheme? Any links to your website that is intended to manipulate the page rank. Oh, by the way, page rank is Google's first ever algorithm. The algorithm, as I already mentioned, is about backlinks. Okay, the more quality, more relevant, more specific content backlinks you get for your website, the better your chances of ranking on Google. So the algorithm that Google used is called PageRank. So any links that is intended to manipulate this PageRank or Google's algorithm to rank higher on Google search results is considered an illicit practice, a black hat practice. Okay, so you're not supposed to do that. Buying or selling links that pass PageRank, that's bad. You cannot, you should not buy or sell links. Excessive link exchanges. Now you have a friend, she has a blog and you have a blog. You can't just say, I'm going to give you 100 links. You give me 100 links in exchange. That link exchange in an excessive capacity is actually against the Google's guidelines. So it's a part of the link scheme, and you wouldn't want to get into that. Number 3, large-scale article marketing and guest posting campaigns with keyword-rich anchor text. And before we could get into this, I want to take a little time to explain what anchor text links are. You see right here, page rank. When I take my mouse over there, when I hover over, it turns into a hand representing a link. So the text that is used as the words that are going to link from one piece of content to another is called an anchor text. I'll repeat that for you. The text that is used as a hyperlink to connect one piece of content to another piece of content is anchor text. In this case, page rank is a hyperlink, or page rank, the word is your anchor text. Okay, now that you're clear about that, using keywords as anchor text could help Google rank you higher. So again, people misuse that, abuse that by optimizing, using the keywords as anchor text wherever possible. So that is against Google's guidelines now. Google doesn't like it if, majority of your links anchor text contains the keyword. It shouldn't, okay? It should be natural, meaning your links should have the keyword once in a while, but mostly it should be something related, okay? I'm not saying it should be generic, but it should be something related. Or sometimes it could just be your website, www.yourdomainname.com, for example. Or it could just be click here, know more, read more. All these are good. Point in discussion here is that you cannot just use your keywords as anchor text everywhere. That's against Google's guidelines. Moving on. So I was talking about large-scale article marketing and guest posting. Now this is what happened. In the past, when people realized that links are going to play a major role in your Google search engine ranking, they used to go to some of the open websites. When I say open websites, these websites allowed you to write articles or do guest posting. You go into another website, write posts, some informative, educative posts, and then give a backlink to your website, which is a good idea. However, people started abusing that as well. Instead of making their posts valuable, helping users find the content, they started writing content that was not useful for users purely for the sake of getting backlinks. That's article marketing and guest posting. Those don't work anymore. Google does not support articles and guest posts that add no value to customers. That's a little bit about link schemes. Do not buy or sell backlinks. Do not exchange backlinks, or do not write content that is not useful for customers or your website visitors, but you do it only for the sake of getting backlinks. An absolute no. So moving on. The next one is called manual actions, right? But before that, I want to go to, get into something called cloaking, okay? Cloaking is another illicit practice, a deceptive, manipulative practice that can be really a bad experience for your users. Cloaking is the practice of showing content that is completely different to your search engine compared to what shows up or what's displayed to the user. I'll give you an example. In fact, Matt Cut's video right here on this page will give you a very clear description of how cloaking happens and how Google catches it. Cloaking refers to the practice of presenting different content or URLs to human users and search engines. So what the search engines see on your website is significantly different from what the users will see. Imagine this.
A kid who's about 9, 10 years old goes to Google, searches for Peppa Pig, the cartoon, for example. He or she is getting a bunch of results. He clicks on the first result. That URL is taking the user to an adult website. Remember, this is a 9-year-old kid who's looking for cartoons and he's being shown an adult website. Very bad experience. That's an awful experience. You should avoid that. You should not do that. The content that you show to Google search engines, for which you would rank for, and what the users get to see on your website should be one and the same. If you do something like this, programmatically manipulate content that is shown to search engines, which is different from what is shown to users, then you're practicing something called cloaking, and that can lead to Google penalty. Avoid that at all costs because it's going to be a terrible experience for your users. Moving on. The next one in the list of black hat practices is sneaky redirects. Now let's say there was this individual, David, who has a shop in the main street in Chicago, Illinois. He's moved from one location to another part of Chicago within Illinois. The first thing that he would do would obviously put a board up there for his loyal customers to know that he's moved from one location to another, which is absolutely fine. Now, if you create a website and then you're moving to a new website, there is something called redirection. You can let the customers know that you moved from www.yourolddomainname.com to www.yournewdomainname.com. However, there are certain people, certain black hat practitioners who actually let people search and find a website, but when they click on the search result, go to the website, they are redirected to a completely different website. Again, a deceptive practice. They do not find what they're looking for, which is a bad user experience. So sneaky redirects are nothing but deceiving the customer. When he thinks he's going to go to a certain page, he's taken to a completely different page with content that is not relevant to what he's searching for. Absolute no again. The next one is called affiliate programs. Affiliate marketing has been one of the most powerful internet marketing tools. People have made millions of dollars using affiliate marketing. Imagine this. I am promoting a refrigerator from Amazon. If I am an affiliate marketer, I would be looking at how to add value for my users who are trying to find the best refrigerator in 2018, for example. Okay, so somebody is searching for best refrigerators in 2018. My blog post on my website ideally should give all the useful information for that user in terms of what are the pros, what are the cons of this refrigerator, how does it weigh with the rest of the crowd or the other refrigerators in the market, and so on and so forth. Now that is value addition. People would love to read about it, understand, and then make their buying decision. On the other hand, some affiliate marketers, what they do is go to affiliate or go to Amazon website or any other merchant website, just copy the product description, prices, pick up the pictures, and they just slap it on their website and think that that is value addition. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. Google calls that thin affiliate websites or thin content sites. What does thin content actually mean? It's very simple. If you don't add value to your users, your content is not meaty. If it's not meaty, it is thin content. So thin content deserves to be penalized. That's how Google looks at it. So if you're thinking about affiliate marketing, excellent choice. You could do that. You could make a lot of money with it as well. However, keep in mind that you make money when people buy, and people buy if they find the content on your website useful. So the foundation is to create good, valuable content for your users and not manipulate just by copying content from your merchant site and putting it on your affiliate website. Okay, so I hope that's clear. We're going to move on to the last part, which is about what happens if you were penalized by Google. Ideally, it shouldn't happen, but if you did unfortunately get into trouble and if Google penalized your website, you would want to take corrective action. Google is going to specifically tell you what went wrong with your website, why Google penalized your website. You would have to take corrective actions, and then right here on this page, reconsideration request, you are going to go into Search Console. Once you verify and all that, you have the option to submit a request for reconsideration. Okay, so Google complains there's a problem, you are going to take some corrective action, and obviously you'd have to put a request to reconsider and Google will take care of it. I want to make a point clear here. There are literally 1.8 billion websites and more on the internet right now. So Google is trying to index and rank as many websites as possible. So it's not really possible for Google to manually look at certain websites and say this went wrong or that went wrong. So, even if you did put a reconsideration request, it's obviously going to take time. So the good thing is not to get into the Google's penalty or flag box, as I might call it. So Google is actually working on automated replies or automated flagging. So it's not really going to manually flag you every time. So just be aware of that. So finally, keep in mind that if Google did flag you for whatever black hat practice, make sure you check out this Webmaster Guidelines. It has links where you can, first of all, fix your website's problems before you submit a reconsideration request. That takes care of the Webmaster Guidelines. A quick recap, there are two major categories within Webmaster Guidelines. One is the general guidelines, which talks about the do's, and there is quality guidelines, which is about don'ts. All you need to do is ensure that you avoid the don'ts. It's as simple as that. They've already listed a few deceptive techniques. Know them, avoid them. And if something is not listed and still deceptive, do not do them because you know the right from wrong. Avoid wrong and you'll be fine. Remember, your content must be helping your users. Create valuable, useful content. People will love you, so will Google.
One of the most important things for you to rank on Google's search engine, if you remember, we've spoken about this in the previous section, is the importance of backlinks. Backlinks are the lifeblood of the internet. When the Google crawler crawls through the page, first it looks at the content, looks for any hyperlinks there. Now these links are actually clicked and the destination is reached by the crawler. It reads that page, looks for a link, clicks that, goes to another page, and so on and so forth. That's how Google crawler is able to cover the entire gamut, or at least majority of the website's content through crawling process. There are about 200 different factors that play a role in Google search ranking. If your website has to rank on Google, Google is going to look at about 200 different conditions before it ranks you right there. What are these 200 conditions or checklists? Nobody knows that because Google wouldn't reveal all the 200 different factors. Google, however, gives you very specific set of guidelines. It says that if you followed this, there is a very high probability that your website, your content will rank higher. Now we are going to look at those guidelines and understand how following those guidelines can really have a positive impact on our ranking, on our website ranking on Google. We are going to switch to the Google Webmaster Guidelines. You will be able to see what's happening on the computer screen as we do that. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is open the Chrome browser right here, and then I'm going to search for something like Webmaster Guidelines. Now this is just one phrase, Webmaster Guidelines. You're going to see a result, the first result potentially that says support.google.com. So that's what we are going to click on right now. Now, when we get into Webmaster Guidelines, we are going to see two important categories. First one is called General Guidelines. Now, General Guidelines are like the do's, okay? Google tells you what are some of the things you're supposed to do on your website. And there is the second category and the more important one, which is called Quality Guidelines. So that's General Guidelines and then Quality Guidelines. General Guidelines are the do's. Quality Guidelines, you might have guessed it, it's the don'ts. You're not supposed to do certain things, which if you did, Google could potentially penalize your website for. So let's look at some of the general guidelines first, and then we'll switch to the quality guidelines. Now, within general guidelines, it's divided into three parts. One is helping Google find your pages. Two, helping Google understand your pages. That's more important. And finally, helping visitors use your pages without hassle. Okay? Now, let's look at what Google says about understanding your pages. And this is very important. That's the reason I'm highlighting this. Google actually says that when you create content for your website, don't do it to rank on Google. Google actually says that. Don't write your content for search engines. Instead, you do a good job in terms of creating a content that is useful for your users. So when your website visitors come to check out your website, let there be so much good content that they're going to absolutely love it. Don't worry about search engines, because if you do a good job on your content, get all the value addition done for your users, Google is bound to rank you for that. So if not anything else, if you can take away this one point from this section, that is to create content not just to rank, but to really, really help your visitors, Google will support you. Okay, so that's the takeaway. First point under Google understanding your pages is one, create a useful, information-rich site where pages are clear and accurate and it's described in the most simplest manner. Keep that in mind. Create content that is useful for your users. It's rich in value, it's informative, and it's clear and accurate. Number two, think about the words users are going to type to find your pages. So we're going to dive deep into this when we do keyword research as a part of On-Page SEO in our next section. Just know this, when you go to Google, you search something like baking classes in New York, for example, you're looking for a baking training class or course in the city of New York. Now, your job as a search engine optimizer is to find out what are people actually typing in that search box. Really understand, put yourself in the customer's shoe, use those words inside your content. That way, there is a higher probability of you reaching those customers. This is crucial for your online success, for your search engine ranking success perspective. So always understand what words that your users are using and then use them on your content so that there is a match and your website shows up when they search something. So again, in the next section, we are going to go in depth, really look at what are the different steps that you can take to research how people search on Google, and then that acts like a platform, like a foundation on which you could build your content. Okay, so moving on. Like I told you, we have two sets of guidelines. One is general guidelines and the second one is quality guidelines. So the focus more here is going to be about quality guidelines. What are quality guidelines? Quality guidelines, like I told you, is all about the don'ts, what you're not supposed to do. Okay, some of them are listed right here. But before that, I want to go word by word here. This is like coming right from the horse's mouth, like they say. Google itself is telling these are the guidelines. These are the quality guidelines. If you do any of these illicit practices, your website is going to be in trouble. So even if you did not follow the basic guidelines or the general guidelines, keep an eye on the quality guidelines. Avoid them at all costs. Okay, here we go. Quality guidelines. These quality guidelines cover the most common forms of deceptive or manipulative behavior, but Google may respond negatively to other misleading practices not listed here. It's not safe to assume that just because a specific deceptive technique isn't included on this page, Google approves of it. So, Google apparently has listed some illicit practices that you're not supposed to follow. If you did, but if you thought that this is only a limited one and what you're doing is not really listed, and you go ahead and do or use an illicit practice, a deceptive, a manipulative practice on your website, Google is going to catch you. Okay, so this is serious. So we should not get into the black hat practices like I told you. Stick to the guidelines and you're going to be fine. Okay, so what are some of the basic principles within the quality guidelines? Number one, make the pages primarily for the users, not for the search engines. And this is a reiteration of what I already told you. Two, do not deceive your users. Google says, people come to your website for a reason. They're looking for answers. They're looking for information. Number three, avoid tricks intended to improve search engine rankings. A good rule of thumb is whether you would feel comfortable explaining what you've done to the website that competes with you or to a Google employee. Another useful test is to ask, does this help my users? Would I do this if search engines did not exist? So this is a good test, I would say. The reason is when you're creating content, and if you ask yourself, is this content really useful for my customers? In all honesty, I answered that question before I write a piece of content on my website or my client's website. Always ask if the content that you're about to create, is that going to be useful for your users? If your answer is yes, a double thumbs up, you could go ahead and do that. That's the right way to do it. Think about what makes your website unique, valuable, and engaging. Make your website stand out from others in the field. I mean, this goes without saying. If you really want to do well on Google search engine, if your website needs to rank higher, it's very simple. Create good, valuable content for your users. Ask questions. Let people engage with your content. 3, look at your competitors. What are they doing? How can you set yourself apart from the crowd? Create amazing value, great content so that people love it. And if people love it, indirectly, Google will absolutely love it. This section is going to be very important for your online success, for your search engine optimization success. We are going to talk about keyword research. Now, before we get into the in-depth, nitty-gritty detail of keyword research, I want to talk briefly about what are the different types of keywords that you're going to deal with. Now, before we talk about keyword itself, it's important that you understand Google and other search engines are actually trying to understand the intention of the customer or the intention of the user who is typing something into their search box. So, Google is trying to understand what the intention of the user is when she types stilettos. For example, stilettos mean nothing, right? It could be that she wants to buy a stiletto, a pair of stilettos, or maybe she wants a picture of a girl wearing stilettos. So when you just type in stilettos, Google doesn't understand. So it's going to show all kinds of results. It's going to throw a Wikipedia, maybe an Amazon website with stilettos, and then a couple pictures, or maybe even a video, a girl wearing the stilettos. But the point here is that Google is unsure, and therefore it's going to show results which are mixed, hoping that one of them is what the user is looking for. Now, if you were to target a keyword like stiletto, it's going to be pretty darn difficult. One, because it's a single word keyword, also called as short tail keyword. It's not going to really help reach out to the right audience, because you're not sure what the user is seeking, and therefore targeting a single word keyword is going to be difficult. Second, one word keywords are very competitive. Companies like Amazon and other big e-commerce companies could be targeting such a keyword for stilettos particularly, and therefore ranking or outranking a company like Amazon on Google search engine results page is going to be a big challenge. So now we're going to keep that short tail keyword aside. One word keywords are called short tail keywords. Let's move on to two word keywords. Red stilettos. You see, now there's a little more clarity. Stilettos, but red color stilettos. Obviously, stilettos are worn by women, but it still doesn't show exactly what the person is looking for. Is she looking for pictures, an actual product? If it's an actual product that she is looking for, what is the size? So still the two word keyword, which is called a medium tail keyword, is still not the most appropriate one. Which brings us to the third type, which is long tail keywords, which are 3 words and more, right? For example, red color stilettos, size 9, India, something like that, right? This is more specific. Now we know that the intention of the user is that she is looking for a red color stilettos, red color pair of stilettos, a 9 size, and she's looking for in India, basically, which means that she's planning to buy. You see, long tail keywords are so much more effective. Now, if you were to target such long tail keywords, you know what? The number of people searching that will be few, right? But that's totally okay, because these are the people who are eventually going to buy, right? These are the people who are almost there to buy, right? Unlike a person who's looking for stilettos. Maybe she's trying to see what stilettos actually mean. You never know. We don't know. That's the point. On the other hand, red color stilettos, size 9, India, is a little more specific, and you have a much higher chance of selling your product or service to a person by using long tail keywords. So keep this in mind. Target long tail keywords. When we do keyword research, you will understand what kind of keywords to target, but always keep in mind a long tail keyword will help you, because one, the number of companies that are going to be targeting a long tail keyword will be fewer. Amazon and stuff like that may not be targeting too many long tail keywords. So the number of people searching that keyword could be less, but the chances of you selling to them is much higher. It's a much better targeted audience that you're going to reach out to. Long tail keywords. What you're about to learn in this section is going to be crucial for your online success, not just your SEO success, but online success. I'm talking about something called keyword research. Keyword research is the foundation on which you will be creating your content. Your content has to match with what the user is typing into Google. How do you find what the user is typing in Google on the search box? That's exactly what you're going to learn with keyword research process. I'm going to give you a step-by-step practical guide to doing keyword research so that it's easy for you and you will be able to implement it immediately. Okay, so let's get started. So let's start with the first step within the keyword research process. We'll call this brainstorm. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to brainstorm and come up with keywords that we think will be appropriate for our business. And I'm taking a fictional business here. Let's assume that we are going to start a business of training. We're going to train French language for the people in San Antonio, Texas. So if I were to start a training institute, what are some of the keywords that I would target? In the brainstorm step, what I do is I put myself in my customer's shoes and try to figure out, if I were looking for French language courses in San Antonio, Texas, what search queries would I do? What are some of the things that I would type into Google search engine to find the results? Okay, so let's get started. First, so from a first customer's perspective, this is what I'm going to type. French language training courses San Antonio. Okay, French language classes in San Antonio. Okay, I'm just putting myself in my potential customer, my prospective customer's shoes, and I'm thinking how would they type on Google. Okay, so let me continue. French language courses in San Antonio. French language school in San Antonio. And some people also do the Texas, so let me go ahead and add TEXAS. And one last one, let's say French language institutes in San Antonio, TX. So you see, I'm looking at all the different ways that an individual would search on Google. Okay, so now the next step in this process is analyzing the search engine results page. So let's do that. Analysis of SERP. SERP is nothing but your Google search engine results page. You go to Google, type something like ice creams, and whatever comes up right here, right? All these are called search engine results page, right? This entire page. So we're going to analyze each of these keywords to find out if it is in line with what we intend to do. In this case, looking for a French language training school. So go ahead, copy that. Let's put it in here and look at what comes up. By the way, I also keep an eye on this part. If I see some advertisements that are relevant to what I'm searching, it's an indication that we are on the right track. People and businesses are actually investing on this keyword, right? That's what it means. So but this is a paid advertisement, okay? So we wouldn't consider that for SEO purposes. I'm just letting you know that it's an indicator that there is money in it, okay? So let's look at the search results. These are called the organic search results, and usually you will find 10 results on a Google search engine results page. So here goes. First one, learn French, and then San Antonio. So that gives me an idea that we are on the right track. We are targeting the right keyword because this search result came up as a part of the SERP, okay? Next, French courses, San Antonio language school. Again, very clear indication that we are on the right track. French classes in San Antonio, and so on and so forth. So definitely we are on the right track, we are on the right path, so it's a good keyword. So I'm going to just say yes or a no. This is a binary, so either a yes or no. The keywords that I've come up in the brainstorm step, we'll call this seed keywords. Okay, we're going to literally consider that as a seed, and we'll expand this list further when we do the expansion in a little bit. So hang on. Okay, let's do the same thing with the next keyword in this list. Go back in here. I've copied that. I'm going to paste it in here and see what comes up. Okay, you see now I don't see that search result. That's fine. In the sense I don't see that advertisement in the search results. However, I do see the same website, Learn French, San Antonio. Very cool. So this is my competitor. Apparently, they are ranking right at the top. French courses, San Antonio, again the same thing. French lessons, San Antonio. You see, now I get an idea that maybe I should use the word lessons, right, within this keyword list. This is how people are targeting. So that's good. That gives me some idea. French classes in San Antonio, maybe I might want to include that as well. But overall, the objective of this second step is to only analyze your search engine result page and say whether it is yes or a no in terms of we being on the right track. Is this keyword a good one? I'd say yes, because we see competitors again. Okay, moving on, let's quickly look at the third one. Now, once you get a hang of this, you're going to see the results on the search engine results page are going to be very similar. You see, no surprises here. Now, I put the third keyword in. Let's look at the search results. Again, it's going to be the exact same results. I see the exact same results. So we are on the right track. Again, this is a good keyword. Let's move on. Let's just keep it aligned. Great. So I'm going to copy the next one, French language school in San Antonio, Texas. I'm going to copy it and paste it in. Now, as you get used to this keyword research process, you'll understand that the moment you see the search results, you will know you're on the right track or not, because you know your competitors like learnforgood.com or languagetrainers.com are targeting those keywords. Okay, so if you notice, Learn for Good, which is a training institute, is targeting that keyword. But I wouldn't really break my head on Yelp and Thumbtack because they are more like platforms, not really my direct competitors. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the last keyword in this list, in the seed keywords list. I'm going to copy it. French Language Institutes in San Antonio, Texas with a TX. Let's see what comes up. I have a gut feeling we are on the right track again. Absolutely. Okay, great. So now I know that the keywords that I've listed here may not be the exact ones that I'm going to eventually target on my page, but it just shows me that I'm on the right track. I'm going to go ahead, use these seed keywords to expand that list. I'm going to see more keywords that would be relevant here. Okay, so I've targeted 5 keywords here. All 5 are good. Great. So I'm going to move on to the next steps in the keyword research process. Like I told you, here it's going to be about expansion. And I call this Google Auto. And I'll tell you why I call that Google Auto. And just so that you know, we are expanding the list. So here goes the seed keywords. Here is the expansion. So let's quickly do a little bit of expansion on this. So what I do is usually go back to Google and pay attention now, because this is going to be very important. To me, this is the most important step in the keyword research process. I'll just type French courses. And then as I do the space bar, you're going to see some suggestions made by Google. Right here, you see all these. These are called auto suggestions. Google is suggesting you some keywords. Now, these keywords that we see auto suggested are based on what people are already searching. You're following what I say? It helps you understand that your prospective customers are already searching something on these lines. Now, because I'm in Bangalore, India, these results are showing up which are more relevant to my location. But as you type San Antonio, for example, you see, there we go. Google is suggesting me some very specific keywords that might be applicable for people who are searching in San Antonio, Texas. So the first one in this list is French courses San Antonio, French classes in San Antonio, French classes in San Antonio, Texas, and French classes in San Antonio, Texas with the TX. How cool is that? Now this I call a treasure trove. Literally, we got a bunch of keywords just by starting with something and simply hitting the space bar. And Google auto suggests us, gives us hints that people are searching like this. Wouldn't you agree? This is a great way to find really good keywords. Okay, so I'm going to copy all of these and paste it in my Excel sheet, or I might as well type it in. So French courses in San Antonio. Let's do that right now. We'll go back again. Then you see, you type in N, French classes in San Antonio. French classes in San Antonio, Texas. That's how it was. I'll show that to you in a little bit. And the same keyword, except that instead of the TEXAS, the last keyword had just TX. So let's do that. Okay, So just so that you are on the same page, I'm going to go back in here, type in INT, there we go. Classes in San Antonio, classes in San Antonio, Texas, San Antonio TX. You see, we've got all of that. Now, it's not just that. I also have another option for you, okay? And if you would like to try this, that'll be great too. So there's an amazing tool called Ubersuggest, okay? So just go to Google and type Ubersuggest. There we go. Ubersuggest, Ubersuggest. It's available on Neil Patel's website. By the way, Neil Patel is one of the very popular figures in the world of digital marketing and SEO. So I would definitely recommend you check his website out at neilpatel.com. So we're just waiting for the page to load up. Excellent. There we go. I'm going to go into this website and type in the keyword. You see right there it says enter a keyword or a phrase. I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to say French courses San Antonio, right? That's it. It's in the web and English, United States. Excellent. Let's click on lookup. And you see it's processing right now. As the processing happens, whatever we did right now in terms of searching Google to find out what Google auto suggests, Ubersuggest does exactly the same thing. It looks at all the different options. First of all, it considers French courses in San Antonio. Along with that, it tries various permutations and combinations. It adds like A, B, C, D, and so on and so forth. And it's going to spit out a bunch of keywords. Okay, there is some error. Just bear with me. Okay, so if you notice, the moment we search like that, we are going to get some amazing keywords, 287 keyword ideas, which is great, but I'm not saying all of them are going to be appropriate or good. So you're going to get some good ones, but there'll be a bunch of keywords that may not be appropriate. For example, Arabic classes in San Antonio. Maybe we're not interested in that. And if you do not want some keywords, you could filter it out by, let's say, Arabic, let's say culinary. I see right here, somewhere here I saw culinary, right here, you see, you can remove that. Let's say cake. So let's do that, okay? And then when I do save, it's going to change from 287, we are down to 267. Also, you can filter results. You see, I'm going to look for only San Antonio, all right? Okay, let's do that. When we do that, now we are down to 88. You see, this is a good tool which can help you filter it down and remove some unwanted stuff. I see baking. I think it allows for 5 negative keywords to be added, so I'm going to just do that. Now we are down to 86, okay? And well, I don't see cooking as an option. Let's remove that as well. Gone. So we are down to 61. Okay, let's look at it now. I'm looking at French. There we go. French classes, San Antonio. Excellent. I'm going to choose that. French classes, San Antonio, Texas. Excellent. I'm going to choose that. French classes, San Antonio, TX. Excellent. I'm going to choose that. French corner. No. French courses, San Antonio. Great. French food. No. French language classes. Excellent. Yeah. French language lessons. Yes. Okay. French lessons. Yes. You see how cool is this? Really, really quickly, we are getting a bunch of keywords, okay? So you can go on and on. I know this is a little bit of a tedious process, but it's a necessary thing to do. Now, if you have a good set of keywords, guess what? The content will be so much more effective. You will be so well prepared to create content that will be useful for your users. For some reason the formatting is bad here. I'm going to delete that. Let me, yeah, I know why. That's because I aligned it. Let's go with that. Okay, great. You see now, in no time, literally, I have about 11 keywords which are excellent, right? Which is very relevant to the kind of targeting that I'm doing. Okay. Another way to expand on this list is called Google related. You see, again, you're giving a few more opportunities to target a bunch of keywords that might make sense to you for your prospective customers. Again, as a part of expansion, I'm going to do something called Google related. Okay, let's quickly align that. Okay, how do we do this? I'm going to copy this French classes in San Antonio, go back to my favorite search engine, paste it in, hit enter. And if you scroll down right to the bottom, guess what? You're going to get some more very good stuff right here. So French school, San Antonio, that is not in this list, neither in this one. So great, yeah. So you can expand a little more on that. French school, San Antonio, all good, excellent. Okay, anything else that might be appropriate here? Learn French in Austin, Texas. No, we are looking at San Antonio. So may or may not be appropriate in my case. Let me see, French courses, San Antonio. All right, okay. So I'm going to quickly scroll down just to see what's coming up. Same stuff. Okay, Italian classes, no. Okay. So like I told you, you could go on and on really just by courses. For example, if you want to do an in-depth keyword research, which I absolutely love and recommend my students to do, go to Google, type this in and type A, B, C, D, all the way to Z, A to Z. That way you have all the different angles covered, all the different alphabets, the way people search could be kept an eye on. Okay, so I'm going to do again courses and see what comes up there. French classes, right? French language classes in San Antonio. French summer classes may not be the one. Okay, anyway, I hope you get the flow here. Yeah, just by going to Google Auto Suggest, you're going to get tons of keywords. Same with Google related. You may not get a lot, but you might get the relevant ones, the related ones. So it's a good idea to do this exercise of checking the Google related. Quickly, let's move on to the next one. The next step within this keyword research process I do is a competition analysis. Competition analysis is an excellent way to find out what your competitors are doing, what are the keywords they are targeting, and also for the keywords that you've already listed, are they weak or are they really strong? Is your competition too strong or too weak? You can figure that out. For this, I use a free tool called Mozbar. Okay. So let's go ahead and use Mozbar to determine the competition. It's very simple. I've already installed this Chrome extension, but if you do not have one as of now, not a problem. Just go to Mozbar Chrome extension. There we go. You see the first one in that list. Just go to Mozbar Chrome extension and you're going to see the Chrome Web Store. Open it up. And you're going to see something like this. Since I've already added this to Chrome, it says added to Chrome. However, in your case, it would say add to Chrome. Okay, so just click on that, activate it, and then just go to this website called moz.com. Moz.com is a great website, teaches you tons of stuff with SEO, about SEO, so do check it out. It's a good resource. I just go there and log into my free account. You could do the same. The moment you do that, I can go back to my search results right here and turn this on. Just click on this icon and almost magical. You see that? When you do a search on Google or even go to a specific website, you're going to get some indicators right here. There are a couple of metrics that I keep an eye on. And those two metrics right here are called page authority and domain authority. By using Moz bar, I'm able to determine the competition with the use of these metrics. So I recommend you do this. Check it out. Once you install it, you're going to get page authority and domain authority, PA and DA. Okay, PA represents the authority of any given page. Domain authority, on the other hand, is the authority for the entire domain. For example, google.com or moz.com. You see, those are called domains. And within moz.com, help, guides, research tools is a page. So page authority and domain authority. So let's go ahead, copy the first keyword in this list. I'm going to copy it, go back to my Google search engine results page, put it in, scroll down, look at the search results. Okay, the first one, a page authority of 9 and a domain authority of 11. Okay, so what does this mean? Metrics are all good, key performance indicators are all good, but how do you analyze that? How do you make use of that data to take action? Well, it's very simple. I look for domain authority less than 20. Less than 20 means that it is outrankable. You see, this website is outrankable. Okay, you could usurp their ranking by doing a little bit of good SEO that you're learning in this course in terms of on-page SEO, off-page SEO and all that, and you'll do yourself good to outrank these websites. That's how you'd want to do that. Okay, I look for a DA of less than 20, at least a couple of them. I do write the first two actually are the exact same websites. So it's the same website listed twice on Google search results, which has a DA of less than 20. 21, it's somewhere on that 20 range, still okay, but I'm still looking at a little less than 20 further. There is another one. Okay, so we have DAs of less than 20 at least on 3 occasions on this Google search engine results page. Okay, so that's how I determine if my competition is strong or weak, if I could outrank them. Okay, so obviously you would look at the authority, also look at the title, whatever they've put here. If it includes your keyword, then that's what you would want to target. Okay, so like I told you, keep an eye on the PA and DA. Especially I look at DA at 20 or less. If they are less than 20, it's a good thing for me. Okay, that's what you need to keep an eye on. So I found at least 3 results with a domain authority or DA of less than 20. That's a good thing. Okay, let's look at one more example before we proceed to the next step. French classes, San Antonio. I'm going to go back to my Google search engine results page, do the exact same thing, hit enter. Let's see what we've got. Okay, we've already seen this. This website has a DA of less than 20. 21 is still okay. Sometimes I do consider it, but let's go ahead and dig a little further. Okay, great. We have another one and another one. Okay, all right. We have 3 search results. We have at least 3 different search results within the Google search engine results page for the keyword French classes in San Antonio that have DA less than 20. So we're all good. Okay, so this is how you're going to do for each of these keywords. Okay, for the entire list, find out what the domain authority is, and if it's 20 or less, we are on the right track. We are you know, that's something that you would want to be happy about when it comes to keywords. And last but not the least, again, this is optional, but definitely worth looking at, is the volume. Volume is nothing but how many searches happen for a given keyword. Okay, for example, French classes in San Antonio, we could determine how many searches happen on a monthly basis. For this, again, I use a very cool tool, just like our Moz bar. There is a great tool called Keywords Everywhere. Okay, check it out. Go to Google type keywords everywhere for Chrome, or just Chrome. That should suffice, right? Again, it's going to take us to the Chrome web store. Already it is installed on my browser, but for you, if you're doing it initially, it's going to show add to Chrome. Once you add it, you're going to receive an email that gives you an API code. Okay, there's a small key, API key, and once you install that, you're going to get this icon right here. You see the Chrome bar. You click on that, the extension will have the update settings. Just click on that. You type in your API key right in this box. I'm going to hide it obviously because it's an API key that is unique to my usage, but for you, you're going to get one on your email. Make sure you copy that and paste it in here, and in no time you will have access to the volume, which is super good. Okay, you might want to keep an eye on that one. So how do we do that? Let's go back to the search engine now, and I'm going to paste that keyword, French classes San Antonio. You see right underneath this search box, you're going to get the volume. Volume is 50, right? Great. So that was right here. Volume is 50. You could copy another keyword like, let's say French classes San Antonio, Texas. I'm going to paste it in here, and volume. You see, sometimes the volume might show 0, but dear viewers, I assure you, these keywords actually show up as a part of Google auto suggest, which means people definitely are searching like that. Sometimes the value shows 0, but I would definitely request you to reconsider that. You might want to go with your gut feeling a little bit. Though data is great and all that, if you think French classes San Antonio, Texas could be a potential keyword for you and your prospective customers for the future, you know what, go for it. Don't stop yourself. I would still go ahead with that. It's a good keyword, I think. So I'm going to go ahead and type 0. That's for data collection. But if I were to target that keyword, I would still go ahead and do that. Okay, we'll do one last one. French courses San Antonio. I'm going to copy that, go back to the search box, paste that in, and look at the volume right here. Again, it shows 0, but I assure you it is not. I've seen with so many of my clients, while it shows 0, I target that keyword, there's a bunch of traffic that comes to my client's website. So go ahead and use that keyword if you choose to do so. You will get some traffic even if you see a volume of 0. Oh, by the way, Keywords Everywhere is a third-party company that's actually scraping data, and it could be scraping data directly from Google. So I'm going to show you another great tool that I used to use, and I do use once in a while now. It's called Google Keyword Planner tool. Okay, this is a free tool given by Google, mostly for advertising purposes, for Google Ads. By the way, Google just changed their name from Google AdWords to Ads, so that's how it's going to be. I can quickly sign in to show you how this tool looks like, because you're going to come across Google Keyword Planner tool in your digital marketing career at some point in time. So you might as well know about it right now. So again, this is all value addition for you. You see, whatever keyword research I've done, the steps that I've covered is more than enough, but I'm giving you extra value so that you understand some of the tools that are offered, which could be handy in the future. All right, so here we go. Once this loads up, you will see this wrench icon or the spanner. You click on the tools right here and then look for Keyword Planner. You see there are two options. I'll click on this one, which is for the old one, which I think is pretty cool. So this interface is going to come up in a little bit. I'll show you that also if you want. But this is like the classic view of the Keyword Planner. Okay, we have three options here. It says search for new keywords using phrase, website, or category. I'm going to click on that and type French courses, San Antonio. You see how cool is that? Super easy. You can put in your landing page and all that, but I just leave it empty. All locations, no, I'm going to look at specifically San Antonio, Texas. Let me go ahead and type that in. You see, SEO is all about, actually the whole of digital marketing is all about relevance. Okay, you'll get a bunch of clicks, your content will be successful, people would love to stay on your website only if it's relevant to them. Okay, so that's your bonus tip. Keep in mind, always keep relevancy in mind. Okay, this is all good. You can leave the rest of it the way it is and just click on get ideas. You're going to get two tabs here. One is add group ideas. What Google does is takes the keyword that you actually input and it's going to show all the related keywords underneath that. Okay, but I'm going to skip that part. Let's get to the keyword ideas tab. You see right here, Google is going to suggest some keywords. A bunch of them are not really relevant. Again, you have that negative keywords. If you want to add, you could do that. Let's go ahead and add a bunch of them right here. Let's say culinary, cooking, baking, and whatnot. Okay, let it be that way. So it's going to remove that. If you notice right there, they just vanished quickly. How to learn French language and so on and so forth. Let's say for the French courses San Antonio, you see it's going to give you an idea about what the monthly searches are, volume, and all that good stuff. So this is another very good tool. You could download this whole list of keywords. You see right here it says 230 of them, and then you can pick the ones that make sense to you. And when I say make sense to you, I'm talking about the ones that are relevant to your prospective customers. Okay, so that's a really cool tool. Check it out. Google Keyword Planner tool. Okay, it's a part of Google Ads, and it allows us to do a bunch of research about keywords that might be relevant to our prospective customers. So here we are. Back to the spreadsheet. We started with brainstorm. We came up with a bunch of keywords that we think our potential customers might use for searching the service or the product that we offer. Then we analyze the search engine results page to see if we are on the right track or we are way off. Obviously, if you're way off, you're going to type no here, but most of the keywords are all relevant, and I analyze that based on competition. If my competitors show up on Google search engine results page when I do this, I'll be happy. Actually, this is the only place where you'll be happy to see your competitors because you know you're on the right track. Then move on to the next stage, which is Google Auto Suggest. I also use a tool called Uber Suggest, which is absolutely free, and it gives me keywords that might be relevant to me as well. I'm expanding this list of keywords. Then we move on to the next stage, which is Google Related. Go to Google, type your keyword in, scroll down right to the bottom. Google itself gives you some related keywords which might be relevant to you, and you might want to use those keywords because Google wants you to use a bunch of different variety of keywords. So you know, that's useful too. So pick up keywords from Google Related. Okay, there is something called latent semantic index. Google looks at that. Okay, you can't use the same keyword over and over in your content. So when you look at these, if something makes sense, you might want to use that as a part of your content as well, so that you know in the long run you start ranking for them as well. So that's something you would want to keep in mind. And then I look at the competition. I use this brilliant tool called Mozbar. Look for domain authority of less than 20, at least on a couple of search results, just like this. Yeah, so that's a good way to analyze your competition, and then move on to the next stage, which is about getting the volume. Again, use the Chrome extension Keywords Everywhere. That gives you an idea of how many people are searching. It also gives you some more related keywords, just like Google. It's adding its own value here. So if you find something useful, go ahead, pick it up as well. So that brings us to the end of keyword research process. This is a very simple, straightforward, step-by-step process to come up with the seed keywords and eventually end up with keywords that you could eventually use. The ones I normally use, I target mostly a couple of keywords. I call them primary and secondary keywords. Of course, you can sprinkle the other keywords, you see. you would want to sprinkle rather than stuff keywords. Sprinkle keywords that are related, but mostly my core keywords would be the primary and secondary ones. The one or two keywords that will truly make a difference. For example, French classes San Antonio, in this case, would be my primary keyword. So now we are going to talk about implementing those keywords that we came up with. Okay, so at the end of the keyword research process, you realize that you're going to come up with some keywords that you're actually going to use on your web page or post. Remember, I told you that you do SEO not at the website level, but every page and post level. So it's important that you target these keywords appropriately and you will be able to reap the benefits. Okay, so now where and how do we implement these keywords, right? You come up with your keywords, it's a matter of using that in your content, but where exactly in your content? That's the question I'm going to answer now, okay? So within on-page SEO, while keyword research acts as a foundation, think of it like step 0. Step 1 would be to use that keyword in the title. What's a title? Title is something that appears at the top of your browser window. Okay, so the title appears in 3 different places. One of them is right at the top of the browser. Number 2 is when you're doing a Google search, for example, what you see as a clickable link is a title. And the third place where you can see the title is by going to the backend. Just go to any website, right click, go to view page source, and you're going to see the title tag. Title is the first step in your on-page SEO. Okay, so step 0 is going to be keyword research. That's foundation. Okay, so your step 1 is going to be title. Let's talk about that. Okay, on the screen, I'm actually going to show you how the title appears, where it appears, and how we are going to manipulate that. But more importantly, think of this situation. Okay, imagine this. Think of Google as literally like a spider that's crawling into your website. Just like you and I read text on a page, we start from the top left corner, go towards the right, all the way to the right bottom, right? That's how we begin, from the top left to the right bottom. A Google crawler does exactly the same thing. It actually looks at your web page as a page in a notebook or a textbook, right? It starts from the top left-hand corner and goes all the way to the right bottom. So let's look at what comes right at the top on the corner of the left side. So let me quickly switch to our computer, and I'm going to show you how the crawler actually reads the content. And like I told you, the functions of a search engine, it first crawls your page, reads it, takes a snapshot, takes it to its index, and saves a copy. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. Let's watch how we do this. Okay, so first of all, title, right? We are going to look at the title. Okay, here we go. New window. Let's start this. Let's do a search for French language classes, because that's the example we took. So we'll continue with that so that you get an idea of what I'm talking about. French language classes in San Antonio. If you scroll down, we are going to look at the organic results. This, you notice, is a clickable link. This, French courses, UNAM, San Antonio Language School. You see, this is a title. Okay, so this title appears in 3 places. Let me quickly open a notepad for you so that I can make a list and you'll be able to better understand. 1, I'm going to just font. Let me quickly increase the font size so that it's like visible for you. There we go. Number 1. So where does the title appear? Let's look at that. The title appears in 3 different places. Number 1. Okay, here we go. It appears on the search engine, okay, on the search engine results page. Okay, the clickable link is your title. Okay. B. When I open this in a new tab, you see the website or the web page opens up right here. You slowly move your mouse over this. Okay, so I'm just going to hover over to the top of the browser right here. You see that it says French courses UNAM San Antonio Language School, the exact same thing that you see right here. That means that's the title. So the title also appears on the top of the browser. Number 3, the third location, like I told you, go to any website, do a right click here. You're going to see an option that says View Page Source, and there is a shortcut, a keyboard shortcut you can use, Control+U. When you do that, you're going to get into this. Let me zoom in so that you can see it properly. Now I'm going to do a Control F or Command F if you're using Mac. Do a search for title, and there we go. Okay, they haven't used it, so obviously they're not doing it right. Let's look at this one right here. The page is loading. I'm going to right click and go to View Page Source. And if I do a Control F and then type title, there we go. You see this. Learn French, and then there is this weird ampersand symbol with the number. It's just that think of it like an HTML code, but it just represents and basically a dash, I think, yeah. Learn French dash Alliance Francois San Antonio. You see right there, you're going to see that's what you see right here in the title. Okay. You see the same thing right here as well. Okay, so those are the 3 places where you will see the title. The View Page Source page. Okay, so 3 places where the title will appear. On your Google search engine results page, the clickable link is called the title. Once you click, go to the website. On the top of the browser, where you see what you see on top of the browser is the title. Last but not the least, you can right click on any web page, go to View Page Source, and that will take you to the back end, and you're going to see basically the title tag, which will have exactly what we are putting as title. Okay, so why is this important? Like I told you, the Google crawler is going to come to your website, and the first thing it's going to do is look at the top left-hand corner. It's going to look at your title right at the outset. The first thing that it says is the title. So what do we do about it? It's very simple. All we need to do is begin your title with the keyword. Okay? So in the keyword research process, eventually you would have, come down to 1 or 2 keywords that you really liked. Let's stick to 1 or 2 keywords initially, because there will be a theme to a page. Okay, so when you do keyword research, please refer to the previous section when we spoke about keyword research. You find out the keywords that are appropriate for your business. Pick 2 keywords that are really important for your business. Okay, so number 1, I call the first keyword the primary keyword. The second keyword I call secondary keyword. Okay, so use the primary and a secondary keyword and you should be fine. So on a website, when you're creating the title, okay, always begin with the primary keyword. There we go, primary keyword. Okay, so how do we do this? So what we are going to do is we are going to use a plugin called Yoast SEO. Okay. I have a WordPress website. So on my website, I'm going to install a plugin called Yoast plugin. Once I install the Yoast plugin, I'd be able to use the title, which is available right there, and I'm going to optimize or use my keyword to optimize that blog post using Yoast SEO, the plugin. So let's quickly look at how it is done. So we can see here, I'm on the computer screen right now. I'm on one of the websites where I've just installed or activated the plugin. I go into posts and create a new post. Okay, so let's assume that I'm writing a blog post about the French language classes in San Antonio. Okay, so this is how I would do it. By the way, what you put here isn't really a title. This is called the H1 tag, which I'll be covering in a little bit. For now, anyway, let me go ahead and type French language classes in San Antonio. All right. Now, as I scroll down, obviously I'm going to put some content here. This is where the content will go. Now, because I don't have any content on hand right now, so what I'm going to do is go into lorem ipsum, which is like a space holder, really placeholder. I'm going to copy this and paste it up here. Okay, great. So this is heading to, all good. This is the text. Okay, so there is something. You see when I scroll down right here, let me zoom in a little bit again to show you this part. This is Yoast SEO. Once I install and activate it, I'm going to see this. You're going to do the same thing. On your website, if you have a WordPress website, you can just install the plugin called Yoast SEO. Just go in there, and once you type in the content of your blog post, scroll down a little bit, you're going to see this plugin right here. Enter your focus keyword, it says right here. So there I see something called focus keyword. I'm going to type French language classes in San Antonio. That's it. So that's the keyword that is my focus area, right? By the way, Yoast is an amazing plugin for WordPress. It allows you to target keywords. Currently, with a free account, you can only target one keyword. If you notice right here, there is another tab. I can add another keyword if I wanted to. But for that, I'll have to pay Yoast for the services. So you might want to choose what makes sense to you. Initially, with just a free SEO, Yoast SEO, it's totally fine. You can go with this. Okay, so I put in the focus keyword. And then if you notice right here, it says edit snippet. I'm going to click on this. And there we go. It says the title. I'm going to click here. And I'll just type the exact same thing. I'm going to start with the keyword. That's the condition, right? That's the best practice. French language classes in San Antonio. Okay? And I then use a pipe symbol. If there is anything else I want to add to the title, I use a pipe symbol. Okay, so I'm going to quickly switch to this notepad right now. If you see the notepad, I said the first condition to keep in mind is to begin your title with the keyword, the primary keyword. Number 2, you see Google gives you a very limited amount of space right here. Okay, I'm going to do the search again just to show you. You notice this. In the third case, it says French lessons San Antonio, learn French in San Antonio, and then listen. Then there is 3 dots. These 3 dots are called ellipses. So if your title goes beyond a certain limit of characters, you're going to see ellipses. Ideally, it's not the best practice. You'd want to keep your title to that number of characters, the maximum number of characters that you're allocated in the search engine. What that results in is basically 56 characters. Okay, so keep this in mind. When you create your own title, make sure it is within the 56 character limit. And the good thing about Yoast SEO is that it's going to give you a color code right below the title. Right now it's like it's a color of amber or orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more text here. So French language classes in San Antonio, learn French face to face, or something like that. I hope you get the point, right? Now, as I type that, you see the bar below the text box turned green. Okay, this part I'm referring to, which means your title has a good length. If you scroll down a little bit, Yoast SEO is so good that it's going to give you feedback. It says the SEO title contains the focus keyword at the beginning, which is considered to improve rankings. Great. The SEO title has a nice length. That's exactly what I mean. Make sure it's 56 characters in length. That way it kind of turns green, and more importantly, it gets a nice length for showing up on the Google search engine results page. Okay, so that's condition number 2. Excuse me. So begin your title with the primary keyword. Make sure it is 56 characters in length, or somewhere between 50 to 56 characters. That'll be good. Last but not the least, make sure you don't stuff keywords in there. You don't want to say something like French language classes in San Antonio, learn French language classes in San Antonio. You understand what I'm trying to say? If you use the same keyword multiple times, it is not readable. It is called keyword stuffing, and keyword stuffing is a part of Webmaster Guidelines. It's one of the quality guidelines to avoid things that you're not supposed to do. So do not stuff your title with multiple keywords, okay? So keep it readable. So that's condition number 3. Make it readable. Do not, do not stuff keywords. Okay. Actually, there's one other point. Make sure this title that you're giving is unique to each page. Okay, you don't want Google to be competing for your own pages on your own website. It's not a good idea. So each page and each post on your website should have a unique title. Okay, so that's point number 4. Use unique title for each page and post. Okay, so do not repeat your page and post. So that's about the title part of On-Page SEO. Hopefully you learned something. Okay, so once you have your keyword, there are 2 keywords that you're going to result in the keyword research process. You're going to end with 2 good keywords. One is a primary keyword and the other one is a secondary keyword. Make sure you use the primary keyword in the title. Begin your title with the primary keyword. Number 2, make sure it is 56 characters in length so that it doesn't exceed the amount of space that Google actually provides you in its search results. Number 3, make sure it is readable. Do not stuff keywords into your title. And last but not the least, make sure each title is unique. That's about title, and of course you know where it appears. It appears in 3 places. 1 at the top of the browser, 2 on the Google search engine results page, and 3 when you go to the backend using view page source. So those are the 3 places where you can see the title. I hope this is useful. Like I told you, get your keyword research done, come up with the 2 keywords, implement them on your title right away. So now we are going to get into the next step within the On-Page SEO. We've looked at the keyword research, which is the foundation. Then we move to title, where we implement those 2 keywords that you've come up with on the blog post. Now it's time to get into meta description, the description where you actually tell both the users as well as Google search engine a little more about the piece of content that you are publishing. So let's go into the computer screen quickly. I'm going to show you what you will be able to see, or where you will be able to see the meta description firstly. Okay. So the meta description can be seen in 3 places. Again, I'll have to change the format. So let's do 22 bold Uki. Okay, meta description. It can be seen in two different places. Number one, within the Google search results. Again, I'm considering the Learn French language class in San Antonio. If you notice right here, there is, let's consider this one, the third one. It says French lesson San Antonio, learn French in San Antonio, and so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? That's like keyword stuffed here, right there in the title. Okay, but we're not talking about title. Let's get into meta description. You see, this is meta description. Okay, that small piece of snippet right here. French programs, general overview. UNAM, San Antonio offers 4 levels of French on a semester basis for beginners and intermediate students of French. Courses are offered only on an evening basis, either Mondays and Wednesdays or Tuesdays and Thursdays. You see, this is called your meta description. Okay, so like I told you in the past, Google looks at certain parts of your website, okay, certain parts of your web page or post. One of them is title. The first thing we already looked at is title. So the next thing it goes to is to look at the meta description. Meta description appears in 2 places. You already saw one, that is on the Google search engine results page, or the SERP, right there. So it appears on the SERP. Also, like we did with the title, you can go to any page and just right click on it, go to view page source, right here do a Control F, type description, you should see something like meta descriptions. So obviously they're not doing well. They have lots of areas of improvement. Apparently it's not really optimized for search engines, yet they're ranking because there's hardly any competition for these keywords. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I just went to the backend by just right clicking. It's not really a backend, sorry. Just right click, go to view page source. It's taking you to the source where you can just get a view of what is happening. Okay, so here, if you notice, there is description right here. This is the one I'm talking about, meta description. Okay, the content here is learn French near you. Find out more about Listen and Learn's French teachers in San Antonio and get started today. You see, this is meta description. Ideally, this is what will show up on your Google search results page, but sometimes Google also automatically picks it up from the content on the website. So it's not guaranteed that just because you put a meta description that it's going to appear 100% of the times. It may or may not. Google decides that, and Google basically picks it up from the content itself once in a while. Okay, so 2 places where you can check out the meta description. One is search engine results page, or the SERP, and the second place is the view source. Okay, now what should you keep in mind while creating the meta description? Things to keep in mind are these. Number one, you're going to use both the primary and secondary keywords in the meta description. So use primary keyword as well as the secondary keyword. Okay, you're going to use both the primary and the secondary keyword, and I'll show you in a little bit how to do that. Number 2, you want to keep the character count to 156 character limit. Okay, if you remember in the title part we spoke about 56 characters, right? So let's quickly look at the search engine results page. You see the title, the amount of space that is allocated for the title is limited. It's limited to 56 characters compared to the meta description, which is slightly more lengthy, right? So 156 character limit is what there is right now. So Google keeps changing that, but let's keep it to 156 for now. Number 3, again, make sure the content on your meta description is also readable. Okay, you do not want to get into the black hat practice of keyword stuffing. Okay, just for the sake of ranking for a keyword like French classes in San Antonio, using that keyword multiple times is not going to earn you any brownie points with the Google search engine. So do not do that. It's not a best practice. Okay, so make it readable. Do not stuff keywords. Do not stuff keywords just means do not repeat them. Okay, number 4, as always, unique. Okay, again, you do not want to make your meta description repetitive. You can't use the same meta description on 2 different blog posts or pages. Keep it unique to a given page or a post. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let's move on. Now I'll practically show you how you should be adding meta description to a given blog post. Back to this blog post right here in the Yoast SEO. If you remember, if you haven't watched the previous section on the title part, please do check it out, because that will show you how to get to this place. Okay, so we're going into the Yoast SEO right here. Under site title, we have the slug, and then there is a meta description. So that's where your description will go. And just like there is this a color indicator, from amber it turned to green, we have something very similar here as well. As we keep typing the meta description, Yoast is going to indicate to you if the character limit, the length of your meta description is good, bad, or ugly. Okay, here we go. The meta description is going to be, you can get French language classes in San Antonio now at very affordable fees. These will be classroom training, so you know you will benefit. Anyway, this is just, you see how it turned into red. So ideally you don't want to cross that 156 character limit. So I might have to rework this, right? So you get French language classes in San Antonio now at very affordable fees. Visit our institute for any further details. You see what I'm talking about? Now the meta description character length is nice because it's green. And as always, I'm just going to scroll down, and Yoast is going to give me some feedback right here. It says the meta description contains the focus keyword. Great. Number 2, the meta description has a nice length as well. Okay, so those are the 2 things that you want to keep in mind, apart from making sure that it is readable. You don't stuff keywords in them, and they're unique. You cannot use the same meta description on multiple pages or posts. So far in On-Page SEO, we have looked at keyword research. We came up with 2 keywords that we are going to use, or we are going to implement on a given page or a post. Then we use the title. On the title, we began the title with the keyword, with the focus keyword. Then we moved on to meta description in this section, where you use both your primary and secondary keywords in a 156 character limit meta description, which also needs to be readable. So don't stuff keywords in them, and make as unique as possible. Okay, do not repeat the same meta description on multiple pages or posts. Now we are going to talk about the next step in the on-page SEO process. So we looked at keyword research, then we moved on to title, then the meta description. If you haven't watched those sections, I strongly recommend you do that first, because it has a huge impact in your on-page SEO success. So moving on, we're going to talk about URL, or Uniform Resource Locator. Okay, URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. It's important that you optimize your URL, which is nothing but your domain name / whatever the page is. Believe it or not, just by optimizing the keyword in your URL, there are many websites that have ranked pretty quickly. There are many pieces of content that have been ranked pretty quickly with just that one tweak. Neil Patel, one of the very popular search engine optimization gurus or digital marketing gurus, has made a post about this, telling that one of his old posts, all it required was change of URL, and it basically usurped or ranked pretty quickly on Google search results. So definitely worth looking at. This is one step within the on-page SEO process that you want to pay close attention to. How do we do this? It's very simple. Let's quickly switch to the computer screen here. So here we are on the computer screen. If you notice, if you go to the settings part on the left side, you're going to see something called permalinks. You click on this permalinks. Let me open this in a new tab. So permalinks, settings, and then permalinks. I'll open this in a new tab. Here we go. Right now, you see these are the different options that are there. Let me zoom in a little bit so that it's visible. If I go with the plain one, your website URL will look like this. It'll be yourwebsite.com/?p equals to 123, right? Now, what does a $P123 actually represent? We don't know. See, Google will also have a hard time understanding what this piece of content is actually about. So we don't use that. We don't use the day and name, month and name, or numeric either. I highly recommend you to choose post name. If you notice right here, it says yourwebsite.com/sample-post. You see, for SEO purposes, okay, for URL, like I told you, stands for Uniform Resource Locator. Okay, so for the URL, you should choose, go to settings, and then permalinks, and within permalinks, look for post name. Okay, choose this because you want your URL to be really descriptive. Okay, I'm going to show you quickly how this will look like. Firstly, let me show you how it will look like if I were to choose the plain option. I chose plain here, and then I'm just going to publish this blog post, this demo blog post, and see. Okay, let this be. I'm going to add a new blog post just to show you. I'm going to say, I'm going to call this demo post. I'll just click outside. Keep an eye on the URL. It's going to come up right here. Right now it shows, okay, I haven't saved it. Probably that's the reason. So let's go ahead and save changes right here. Go back to this post, add new. I'm going to open this in a new tab right here. So we will type something like demo post. Okay, and then I click outside. Just keep an eye right here on the permalink section. You see it says $P equals to 2051. Apparently it's not descriptive. It doesn't, it doesn't mean anything. Probably for WordPress, it has some code it is able to understand, but from a human being's perspective, if I'm coming to this page, I do not know what this actually represents. I don't know what this page content will be about. On the other hand, if I were to go back to my settings, permalink, choose post name. Now let me change this, save the changes. And I'm going to refresh this quickly, reload. And I'm going to type demo post, just like we did before. Click outside, and there we go. You see, it's a little more descriptive. That's what I mean. Right here, if you notice this, it actually says French language classes in San Antonio, if you just move the arrow to the right. So that is more descriptive. This is exactly how it should be. Okay, so let's look at this. How should your URL be? Number one, your URL must contain the keyword again. Make sure it is in lowercase. Okay, if you paid attention right here on this blog post, all these letters are in lowercase, right? That's small letters. Remember that. Your URL must be in lowercase. Number three, each word in your URL must be separated by hyphens, okay? Meaning dash, you see? French dash, language dash, classes, and so on and so forth. So every word should be separated by a hyphen. If there is an underscore, Google has a hard time understanding. It thinks that it's a continuation of the text. So it's not a good idea. Using dash or the hyphens really separates one word from another. Okay, and yep, keep it short. Number four, keep it as short as possible. Okay, keep your headline, keep your URL as short as possible. Okay, so quick recap. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator. You would want to go to your WordPress dashboard, get into settings, and then get into permalinks, where it has multiple different options for your URL structure. Make sure your URL structure follows the post name. Post name is the right one, because that gives a descriptive post name URL for the blog post or the page. Okay, so that's about URL structure. Next up, we are going to talk about headings, which is another important step within your on-page SEO. Okay, so far we've covered 4 steps. Of course, step number 0 is keyword research. Once you have the keyword, you are going to use the keyword in the title, meta description, and thirdly, now we've looked at the URL. So now we are going to talk about another very important step in the on-page SEO. It's called heading. Okay, so far we've looked at keyword research, then moved on to using that keywords in the title, meta description, URL, and now it's about heading. It's about using your keyword in the heading. By using the right headings, you are able to effectively communicate the concept that you're covering in the page or the post. Okay, so you're letting both the Google search engine as well as the real users of your website understand what that page is actually about. So headings are crucial for on-page SEO success. Without much ado, let's quickly move on and switch to the computer screen. I'm going to show you exactly how the heading is done. By the way, heading is like an H1 tag. Is a tag in HTML terms. There are 6 heading tags, H1 all the way through to H6, H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. H1 is like the biggest heading, like the topic name, for example. What you see right here at the top, this is your H1 tag. By default, WordPress makes this H1. And within the content, if you notice, the body of your blog post right here, this is called heading 2, or this is the subheading. You see, that's what I put, subheading or H2. So if I have to choose a piece of text, I can do that and change it into paragraph or H2 right here. You see, that's how it is done. Just go here, down, click on the arrow, drop down, and then choose H1 to whatever you want to do. Ideally, you would want to keep one thing in mind. The H1 tag should be used only once in a blog post or a page, because it's like the chapter name. And H2 and H3 are like subtopics within that main H1 or the heading tag, the main heading tag. So keep that in mind and you should be fine. What do you want to do in terms of SEO? Number one, ensure you use your primary keyword in the H1 tag. Okay, use your primary keyword in the H1 tag. Use secondary keyword in the H2 and H3 tags. But use it with relevance. Don't just stuff your keywords while the paragraph doesn't contain any information on that. That would be a bad idea. Make sure that your H1 begins with a keyword again, and your H2 and H3, which is subtopics, ideally you would want to use your secondary keyword. I also advise you not to use H4, H5 and H6, but that's more like a personal preference. We want to keep it to a very simplistic, basic way. So you don't want to go too deep also. That could lead to users getting confused about the content. Okay, I hope it makes sense. H1 for the main heading, H2 and H3 just subtopics and then a subtopic of a subtopic. That's heading for you. Use primary keyword in the H1, use primary and secondary keywords in your subheadings H2 and H3. Okay, so that's about our on-page SEO. Basically, 5 things that you want to keep in mind. Number 1, do a good keyword research. Follow the steps. Watch that video if you haven't. Very useful. Then use the keyword in the title, in your meta description, in the URL structure, and finally the heading. Top 5 that you need to absolutely follow to have a good on-page SEO. We are done with the on-page SEO. We are done with off-page SEO. We are going to learn about something even more interesting. Okay, now it's not just about your website that you're going to rank on Google for. If you're a business, if you're a company that owns a website and runs lots of different digital campaigns, it's not just your website that's going to make a difference. When you do a search right now on Google, let's do a search for how to do email marketing, for example. It's going to include not just the text results, right? It's not just going to be blogs. It's also going to be about videos. Your YouTube videos and other video content is going to show up as a part of the Google search engine results page. Not just videos and text, but also images will show up on your Google search engine results page. Apart from that, when you do a search for your, let's say, brand name, for example, you will see many different other websites, external websites, that will also show their own results for your brand name. For example, SlideShare. SlideShare now is owned by LinkedIn. So you could upload your files, like a PDF file, your college presentation, project observations, whatever the case may be. You could upload documents. And guess what? You could optimize all of these and you can rank for them too. You see, your website is your web property, right? You own that piece of property. But there are so many other different properties on the internet you could also optimize and rank for. Why not make use of that? Some of the most successful digital marketers do exactly that. They focus on optimizing not just on their own website, which is very basic, you must do that, and which is what you've learned in on-page and off-page SEO. But when we talk about blended search results, you could actually rank for your Facebook page, for your LinkedIn page, your Twitter profile. You could rank for a SlideShare presentation that you upload. You could make a YouTube video, upload it to YouTube, optimize for that. Your brand name could show up YouTube videos as a part of the search result. Go to flickr.com, optimize that. Or even on your own website, when you upload an image, you need to optimize to help Google understand what that image is about. You can't just upload an image and hope to rank for that. It doesn't work like that. You need to use some tags along with uploading the image on your own website as well. So that's something that you're going to learn now. We are going to talk about blended search results. Apart from your website, how all can you really optimize on these other websites and rank for those on Google search results. This is going to be huge for your branding purposes. So I hope you find value in this. Let's jump right in. Let me switch to our computer screen so that I can do the blended search results optimization for you. When I think about French classes in San Antonio, obviously when you think France, you think Paris. And when you think Paris, you are thinking Eiffel Towers, right? So let's do that. Let's go ahead and do a Google search for Eiffel Tower. Okay. And then you switch to images. There's some really beautiful, high resolution, good quality images right here. But guess what? You can't just blindly pick it up, right? These images could have copyrights attached to them. So you just can't pick any image. You know what? Right now, you're also going to learn how to pick images from Google that you're authorized to use, okay? So let's quickly look at that. I'm on Google, did an Eiffel Tower search, and on the images tab, I see a bunch of Eiffel Tower images, obviously. So I click on tools right here in the menu. And then if you notice here, there is something called usage rights. You can click on that and look for the one that allows you to use for your purposes. Right here, first one, label for reuse with modification. What that means is you could actually use that image, modify it, and put it up on your website. So let me click on that, and you see the number of images actually changed. I like this one. This looks beautiful with a little bit of the sky background, and it has the it's more like a beautiful view of the Eiffel Tower from right my perspective. So let me right click. Actually, let's open this in a new tab, or I'll save it. I'm going to save it on my desktop. Eiffel Tower, Paris. But what I also want to do is target the French language classes. San Antonio. You see, I'm saving this name. Ideally, you wouldn't want to do that. You would want to really make the image relevant, which I did actually. If you see, I actually named the image as Eiffel Tower, followed by French language classes in San Antonio. Okay, so let's quickly look at that. It's a pretty big file. So we are going to have to compress it. Anyway, for this purposes, I'm just showing you how to optimize for the image. So I'm not going to compress or reduce the size of the image. But when you do it, when you upload an image and stuff like that in the future, just make sure you optimize that image for size, or else it can have adverse effects on the loading speeds of that page. Okay, you want to keep your images really as small as possible in terms of size, so that your website and the web page particularly loads as quickly as possible. Anyway, I'm going to click on Add Media. I'm going to upload a file right here. I click that, put it on the desktop. I'm looking for Eiffel Tower right there. Okay, so while that is actually being uploaded, you get to see right here on the right side, there is something called URL, right? URL is the actual location of this image on your hosting service, in this case, on this website's host, right? Then comes the title. Now, whatever file name I gave is automatically picked up by WordPress to show as title, okay? But I'm going to change that a little bit. Eiffel Tower, Paris, and then of course, I'm going to just do my own branding with the keyword that's relevant here. In this case, French language classes in San Antonio. Okay, so you would want to use that as your alt text as well. You see there is a caption too. Caption is the text that would appear right underneath the image. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that as well. That's fine too. Alt text, that is the tag that you need to be aware of. Okay, when it comes to images, when it comes to optimizing for search engines, of your images, make sure there is alt text. Alt text stands for alternate text, or when the image doesn't load up, sometimes you would notice that when the website loads slowly, or if there is a problem with the downloading of an image, there is an empty box and then there is some text. That text will show this, whatever you put in the alt text, right? In this case, it'll be Eiffel Tower, Paris, as a part of your French language classes in San Antonio. I hope it makes sense. When your website is slowly loading, the picture isn't loading, there is an empty box and there is some text. That is alt text. What you see there is alt text. It is one way of letting Google know what this image is about. While Google has made some amazing improvements in terms of understanding an image, it still doesn't understand an image 100%. By giving descriptive text, a proper alt tag, alt text right here, you're letting Google understand what this image is about. I'll also include the same text in the description, but again, you wouldn't want to do that. You would want to make something descriptive, but use the keyword right in this alt text as well as in description. So I'm going to insert into post. There we go. That's the image right there, and that's how it is optimized. Okay, so a quick recap of what are some of the things that you would want to keep in mind while optimizing for images. Number one, I will include the keyword in the file name. Remember that. When you are saving a file, make sure the file name includes the keyword. Next, ensure you include the keyword in the title of the image, right? We just saw that. So if you want, I can click on this edit again. You notice right here, okay, let me go ahead and click on add media. Right here, if you click on this, you're going to see title. This is the one I'm talking about. Okay, so make sure the title has the keyword, the alt text, as well as the description. Okay, so number three, alt text must include the keyword. Number four, description. Again, I would include the keyword. The idea I'm trying to convey here is that the keyword is crucial. That's how Google understands what the image is about, and using the keyword in the appropriate places like the title, the alt text, the description, as well as the file name plays a role. Okay, so that's how you would optimize an image. Next, let me see how I can optimize for a video, right? Let's get into YouTube. Okay, we are going into youtube.com and we are going to upload a video right here. I clicked on that. And then I will click on this arrow, and I have one beautiful video that I'd like to, let me put that on the desktop so that I can pick it up easily. So back to my YouTube. There we go. I'll go to desktop, and then I'm going to pick up that specific video right here. Okay, I'm going to open it. So let me zoom in for you so that you'll understand what I'm talking about. When you are uploading a video, you're going to see right here, this is called the title. Okay, so again, use the keyword in the title right here. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to use something like beautiful sunset. Okay, I'm just typing something like beautiful sunset in San Antonio, Texas. Okay, so obviously you would want to use the keyword here as well as in the description and then the tags, right? So just like we had the alt tag for images, we have the tags for videos right here. Okay, so assuming that the keyword is beautiful sunset in San Antonio, Texas right here, I've used that as a part of the title, description, and I've given tags also, which basically focuses on those words. Okay, so the keyword is focused on this when you put it in the title, description, as well as the alt tags. Sunset, San Antonio, Texas, you understand how that works. Not just this, okay? So when it comes to videos, video optimization, one, we are going to put in a title, include the keyword. Number two, description, make sure you include the keyword. Number three, the tags, use the keywords again. Number four, there's one more point you'd want to keep in mind. It's not here on this screen, but you have to get into the advanced settings. Get into the advanced settings, pick the category, right? In this case, the website's, it is about, this image is about you're going to check which category suits it best. So apparently if this is about French language classes, then I would say education. But this video is more about like a short captured in the nature. So I don't know, maybe we should put it either in travel and events or people and blog, but I'll go with travel and events for now. But you get the idea. Make sure you choose the relevant category of the video that you're uploading, okay? So that's number four, category. Okay, choose the right one. Okay, so that's how you optimize for a video. Number one, include the keyword in the title, include the keyword in the description, use the right tags, which is nothing but the keywords that are relevant to the video content that you're uploading. And last but not the least, there is category. In the category, choose the right one that is relevant to your business or the video that you're uploading. And then of course, I'm going to publish it. So it's processing and then I can publish it. So that's how you optimize for an image and a video really quickly. Okay, now I'm going to look at one other website that I can rank for, and that is called Skillshare. Skillshare is a part of LinkedIn. So I just logged in using my ID. You see, you can upload different kinds of media here, PDF file, videos, presentations, and so on and so forth. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a PDF. Let's say I upload, or even the same video, it doesn't matter. So let's go with the same video right here. I'm going to choose this, click open. There we go. It's exact same thing. Okay, I'm going to go to the title, but put beautiful sunset in San Antonio, Texas. Okay, I'm going to type that as a description as well. Again, choose the right category right here. I put that under travel. So let me continue doing that for this as well. Travel and events. Privacy, let it be public. Again, you have the same tags. So sunset, and you hit enter, and you get to type in another keyword, which is San Antonio, and then Texas. I hope it makes sense. That's all it is, folks. You can actually start, but the idea is that when you upload a file, whether it's a video, an image, or a PPT, or a PDF, just remember that the keyword goes into the title, description, choose the right category, followed by tags. And this is kind of applicable whether it's YouTube, Skillshare, or some other website. in most cases, you're going to see these as the common ones. So that's how you rank not just for your web property, but also for other properties, including YouTube, Flickr for images, Skillshare, and so on and so forth. Okay, you may even use the same technique to rank for LinkedIn, right? For example, if I want to be known as the digital marketing trainer, for example, I could use that as a keyword and optimize my LinkedIn profile. And guess what? When somebody searches for digital marketing trainer in a specific location, my profile shows up right at the top. So that's how you could really use other websites to optimize your content and rank on Google search results. In this section, you're going to learn an amazing factor that also plays a big role in your local business ranking on Google. A couple months back, I took a small project. This is about a baking classes website. She had a website which was on HTML. I had to move it to WordPress. While moving it, there was a lot of content that also had to be moved from HTML to WordPress. I had to consider a bunch of factors in order to move. While I will talk about that when we do WordPress and using something called 301 redirect in a later section, right now I want to bring your attention to one of the most important factors if you want to rank locally. So imagine this. I was targeting a keyword like baking classes in Bangalore. That's baking classes in Bangalore. She teaches people how to bake cakes, breads, and so on and so forth. All I had to do was target the keyword or the service in this case, which is baking classes, and include the word Bangalore, which is the location. So always remember, in order to rank locally for a local business on Google, it's important that you have the service plus the location. That's how you will be able to rank for some of the keywords. So if I'm doing digital marketing, it's digital marketing agency Bangalore, just as another example. Always remember, service plus location, very effective, very easy as well in order to rank, because the competition is kind of limited instead of looking at a very generic term. Okay, so I hope you implement this. It's going to be very useful. If you take up projects with small businesses within your city, always use the service plus the location and you will succeed. This is a very important topic and it is called Search Console. Search Console is a tool that is offered free of cost by Google. It gives you updates, feedback in terms of how your website is performing in terms of search engine optimization. If you remember, we spoke about the functions of a search engine: crawl, index, and serve. From all those three different angles, Google is going to give you data. It's going to tell you exactly what's going on with your website, and this is a tool for doing that. It's a two-way communication. Google talks to you literally using this tool. It tells you how your website is performing so that you can take preventive actions, corrective actions, and make your website even better, rank better on Google search engine. So let's get started with Search Console. I'm going to switch to the computer screen now. All you need to do is just go to Google, type Search Console like so. I'm going to type that right now. Search Console, there we go. The first thing you're going to see is Search Console. Let's quickly click on that and you should see this screen. Okay, it's going to ask you to sign in. Go ahead, sign in using your Gmail ID. Okay, so the moment you log in, it's going to show you the website that's already listed. Now I already have one listed, but I'm going to show you a new listing, how to add your website for the first time ever. This is how you do it. Click on the add a property right there. Then it's a website. If you click on the drop down, it's going to ask you whether it's a website or an Android app. Let's stick to website. I'm going to switch to my website, copy the URL, get back in here, paste it. It's as simple as that, right? I just added my website now. Now once I add this property, there is one more step. okay, and that is to verify that I own this website. If this validation wasn't applicable, then anybody could list anybody's website on their search console and get the data. You see, it's about a privacy thing. So this is an important step. Make sure you choose alternate methods, okay? And then there are 4 different options available, either HTML tag, domain name provider, and so on and so forth. I go with HTML tag. It's very simple. Of course, there is the meta tag. I'm going to click on that, copy it, okay? I'm just going to right click, copy that, okay? So how do we go about doing this? Now again, because I have a WordPress admin, meaning I have the WordPress admin to log in. There we go. I go into the dashboard once I sign in, and let's go into appearance and then editor. In the editor, there is the code right here. I know this can be scary. You don't need to worry about these. Just look for something called header.php. Let me zoom in just a little bit for you to see this clearly. Okay, on the right side, you're going to see something that says header.php. Sorry, there we go. Here it is, header.php. Just click that, and right here inside the head tag, remember, this is the opening head tag, and this is your closing head tag. Okay, so we are going to put our meta tag for Search Console right inside of this. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter, paste, and update the file. The moment I do that, I'm letting Google know that I am authorized to track the records of this website. I go back in here and then click on verify. And if everything went well, which it did, here it says, congratulations, you have successfully verified your ownership of the website, which is very cool. Okay, so that's how, my dear friends, you would actually add a new property or a new website, your website, on Search Console. Okay, now with that out of the way, what we can do is we can look at the existing website. So this is called the dashboard. On the dashboard, there are 3 parts here: crawl errors, search analytics, and sitemaps. You don't really need to worry about these because we are going to go in depth very soon indeed, okay, like right now. So I'm going to look at the left hand side, this navigation. Remember, we have the 3 functions of a search engine: crawling, indexing, and serving, right? These are the 3 different functions of a search engine. So let's look at the first one, crawling. When I click on crawl errors, Google is actually going to show me if there was any crawl error. Apparently there is something going on with this website. So if you wanted to know more about what exactly is wrong, you could actually click on this and it's going to give you a little more details. Okay, and once you fix that, you can just click on mark as fixed and Google will take care of it, or Google will reflect the change. Now I want you to keep in mind that there are some request codes or response codes right here, some codes that says 404. Okay, you know, I'm not 100% sure of everything that goes on my website. Neither will you, right? There are so many different things. When you're not sure, all you need to do is just Google it. Go to Google, type something like response code 404, right? That's what we see right here, response code 404. It's going to tell you, this Wikipedia is pretty awesome. This page has all the different codes for you, but let me just quickly look at only the definition right here. The HTTP 404, 404 not found, and 404 error message is a hypertext transfer protocol or HTTP standard response code in computer network communications to indicate that the client was able to communicate with a given server, but the server could not find what was requested. Looks like that is a server issue. You see, that's how you identify exactly what's going on, and you will know what is the next step of action. Okay, so that's something that you could do. Next, I go into crawl stats. Under crawl stats, we have 3 key stats that we look at: pages crawled per day, kilobytes downloaded per day, and the time spent downloading a page. This just goes to show the amount of data that is being downloaded by Google when it visits your website. It also shows how many pages were crawled by Google on this website. Last but not the least, it also shows the time taken to download this data, which is nothing but your page load speeds. Ideally, your page should load in less than 3 seconds. Here, if you notice on the right side, there is high, average, and low, which means 10,512 milliseconds, which means this, at this point, the highest time it took to download the data to load the website on the browser was about 10.5 seconds, 10.5 seconds. Okay, it's in milliseconds, so that's 10.5 seconds. That's a lot. Ideally, it should be below 3. So on an average, however, if you notice, this is still below the 3000 milliseconds or 3 seconds, which is good. And therefore, you see this all green. Okay, I hope it makes sense. 3 key metrics within crawl stats: pages crawled, kilobytes downloaded, and time spent. Next, there is something called Fetch as Google. Fetch as Google is a request that you as a webmaster are making to Google itself. You're asking the Google crawler to come and crawl the website at this point, right? You could do that. You are asking Google to fetch the content on your website, okay? So, if you see there's a text box right here, if you have a specific page that you want Google to crawl and give you the results, output the results, you could choose that. However, if you do not put anything here, Google is just going to crawl your home page. So let's do that. I'm going to leave this empty and click on Fetch and Render. It'll take a couple seconds, but Google is going to give you an output. Okay, it's going to give you a status or a status report. You see, right here, I see the green and it says complete, okay, which is a good thing. Complete means Google had no issues crawling your homepage, your website, which is a great thing. Now, if you get some other result like partial, sometimes it does show as partial, right? At that time, you should look at this response code. Again, I'm going to zoom in just to show you this a little more clearly. The HTTP code, look at the HTTP code, and the 200 OK is good. If not, you know what to do. Google it, find out what the problem is, and find a fix. Okay, so that's something that you'd want to do. So there are 2 tabs here, fetching and rendering. In the render part, you'll get to see how the Google bot saw this page. You remember when we did the search engine introduction part, we spoke about how Google actually scans the content on your page, reads the content on your page, finally takes a snapshot, a picture of your website. That's exactly what you see here. See how amazing is this? Google actually has a picture of the home page the way Google bot saw it versus how the visitor saw it, which is very interesting, right? Now, Google actually has an algorithm. It's going to weigh these two, and it's going to find out if there is any significant difference between the way Google sees it versus how the user would see it. If it is significantly different, then there's something wrong, and Google is going to flag, okay? So that is something that you'd want to keep in mind, okay? With that clear, fetch as Google, let's move on to something called robots.txt tester. Robots.txt is a very simple text file. It just shows which are the pages or which are the parts within your website that the Google bot can and cannot, or may not crawl. Okay, so you're letting Google know that Google, you can come visit my website. There are certain pages on my website that I do not want you crawling. You can actually say that it's your website, right? So you can set restrictions on the pages that the Google bot must and must not visit. Okay. Moving on, we have sitemaps. Sitemaps are literally like the map to your website. There are two types of sitemaps. One is called the HTML sitemap and the other one is called an XML sitemap. Let me quickly show you an HTML sitemap. Let's go to Amazon.in. When we go to Amazon.in, I go into shop by category, and then right underneath the last menu option is full store directory. So I'm going to click on that. And if you notice, all these are just text links that lead you to specific categories within Amazon.in, or it could be the products themselves as well. But the point here is that these are just text links that help you navigate to a specific page or a product or a category of a product, and so on and so forth. That is called an HTML sitemap. An HTML sitemap can really help the user navigate from one page to another. Well, there is also another type of sitemap, and that is called XML sitemap. An XML sitemap is for the search engines. Okay, XML sitemaps are for the search engines. You're letting Google know that this is your sitemap. Now, how do we do that? It's very simple. Let's get back to our website right here. Okay, now I'm going to go into, we already have the plugins, so let's go into SEO right here, Yoast SEO. That's the plugin I use. There are other very popular plugins as well, so you may use the one that suits you best. When I go in here, right here, we are under general. Let's go to features. There's a bunch of them right here, and I'm looking for something called XML sitemaps. If it's off, please make sure you turn it on. Okay, you just toggle it on, and then if you look at this question mark, it's going to give you a link to the actual sitemap. You can click on this, and it's going to show you the sitemap. See how interesting it is and how simple it is. By using Yoast SEO, you can actually have an XML sitemap that is pretty easy to actually generate as well as upload it. Okay, once you have the sitemap, like you have the link right here, I could right click, copy link address, which is what I'm going to do. Right here, if I come back in here to sitemaps on the search console, I'll click on add or test sitemap. I could paste it in here like so. Okay, so in the text box it should be sitemap_XML, and then you can submit it or test it. That way you will know exactly what is going on. Now on the sitemap, it will also show you how many pages were indexed, and during the indexing process, if there was any errors, it's going to represent that here. It's going to display it here so that you can fix those issues. When I click on the 2 errors right now, it's going to tell me exactly what went wrong so that you can take the corrective action. You see how useful this is as a tool to really understand what's going on with your website from a search engine perspective and how to fix them. Last but not the least, within the crawl process is the URL parameters. URL parameters are a little more technical. Now, think about this. If I were to go to Amazon.in now, okay, now I can go to shop by category, go to mobiles and computers. Let's say I went into laptops. I click there, and then I were to choose HP laptop right here. Okay, so this is the product. I just want you all to keep an eye on this. Let me open a notepad, put it up here. Okay, I'm going to copy it, paste it up here. Let me wrap this thing up. Okay, there we go. So that's the product. Okay, but more importantly, I want you to keep an eye on this URL. There we go. Okay, now I went into shop by category, mobiles and computers, laptops, and then I picked up this specific product, right? This time I'm going to try something else. Again, I'm back to the home page on Amazon right now. I'm going to type, or I'm going to copy and paste only the title right here. This product title that we saw there, I'm going to copy it and paste it up in the search engine. I'm sorry, inside the Amazon search box. When you click on that, again, it's the exact same product. Yes, all good. But I'm going to copy the URL right now and then get back to my notepad and paste it up here. You see, this URL is different from this URL. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that when a user searches, the search box uses a search box to find a product, the URL that shows up is completely different from the way if he or she were to go to the shop by category and then pick up from the main menu. The same exact product will have a different URL. Now, I hope it makes sense. These are exactly the same product. By the way, this is the exact same product, but it can be reached using two different URLs. That is URL parameters, by the way. Okay, if you are going to access the same product using multiple URLs, you're letting Google know that these two are not two different products. This is not duplicate content, but just one page, but can be accessed in multiple ways. That is URL parameters. Again, in most cases, as a digital marketer, you may not be responsible for taking care of this. Your development team would actually do it. Okay, so unless you know this concept really well, I strongly advise you not to do anything in terms of URL parameters. Okay, so that's the first part of Search Console. In the next section, we are going to talk about Google Index. Okay, we'll look at how Google index status and the rest of the things work. So stay tuned. Okay, so now we are going to move into the Google Index part. On the screen, if you notice, we finished the crawl. Now we are into Google Index. Under Google Index, there is index status. So let's say there are about 50 pages on your website. Ideally, all of those pages have to be indexed on Google. If there is any discrepancy between the number of pages crawled and the number of pages indexed, then there is something wrong, right? So here, Google is going to tell you exactly how many pages were indexed, and if there is any change, any difference between the crawled pages and indexed, you may want to take a look and fix that. The next within the Google Index is blocked resources. If there are certain parts of your website that cannot be crawled and indexed by Google for whatever reason, it's going to show you the results right here. Luckily for us, there is none. It's all good with a green check mark, which means we can proceed. The next one is called remove URLs. Now think of this. Let's say you've had some web pages or posts on your website which are not relevant anymore. These are like really old, irrelevant ones now. So you might want to remove that. In such cases, if Google has already indexed you and it's ranking you on Google, but you do not want that to be ranked. Let's say you don't want those pages to be on Google's index, you might want to consider removing that. Okay, so just click on the temporarily hide button right here. Put in the exact URL of the page that you want removed from Google's index. Once you do that, like it already says, it's only temporarily hiding. So in order to permanently remove that, go back to your website, just remove that page entirely, right? Delete that page, and automatically that will be off of Google's record. So that's how you would want to remove your URLs from Google's index. That's a short one. Let's quickly move on to search traffic, okay, which is nothing but the serve, right? Google is serving the results. So underneath search traffic, there is something called search analytics. Search analytics gives you, as the name itself suggests, analytics of what's happening on your website. At this point, I'd like to introduce you to a couple of metrics that you might want to keep an eye on. The first one is clicks. Clicks are nothing but people who are able to see your website result on Google search engine results page, click. Okay, so let's do this one more time. Think about this. You want to rank for, let's say, yoga girl or samastiti meaning, right? So somebody is searching that on Google and your website was displayed by Google and somebody clicked on it. Okay, that's a click. Impression, on the other hand, which is the second metric here, is how many times did Google actually display your website as a part of the search results for a specific keyword. Okay, now for example, yoga girl, that's the keyword. If somebody typed that in, Google showed your website as a part of the result and somebody clicked, right? So the number of times Google showed your website as a part of the search results for a specific keyword is impression. If the visitor clicked on it, it's a click. Those are the two metrics. The next one is called CTR. We've discussed this in the past. CTR stands for click-through rate. Click-through rate is described or defined as the number of clicks divided by the number of impressions. Okay, so the number of times people actually clicked on the Google search engine results page to get to your website, divided by the number of times Google actually displayed your website as a part of its results is called impressions. So clicks divided by impressions into 100. That is CTR, click-through rate. Last but not the least, there is a metric called position. Okay, so what is a position? So if you notice right here, the metric says average position. Okay, what that means is how often did your website show up for a keyword like samastiti meaning? And how often did Google actually show your website as a part of its search results? That's impressions. But the average position is on Google search engine results page, that's Google SERP. On an average, for a keyword like samastiti meaning, Google showed you as a part of its result on the 7th position on most occasions and 6th position on some occasions, and that's why it's averaged out to 6.9. So that's the way it's calculated here. It's the average position of how it was displayed for a specific keyword. So this is a good check for what are some of the keywords and how your keywords are ranking on Google and how many people get to see it and how many times do they click on your search results. Moving on, links to your site. These are the different websites that are giving you the backlinks. Okay, these are inbound links. Okay, and if you remember when we spoke about how search works and particularly how Google search engine works, one of the major factors for your website to rank well on Google is the number of backlinks as well as the quality of backlinks. Here it's going to list down, Google is going to list down all the different websites that are giving you the backlinks. So now you know how Google search engine results work. Sometimes on the Google search engine results page or the SERP, you would have noticed that there is a little extra information. For example, last week I was trying to search for Jurassic World, right? When I did a search like that, as a part of the search result, there was this 5-star rating. I'm sure you noticed that, right? As a part of the search results, right there, you're going to see sometimes the 5-star rating or some reviews or sometimes even events. Search for something like events in plus your city, right? In my case, I search something like events in Bangalore. Immediately on the Google search engine results page, it's going to show me specific to my location, that is in Bangalore, what are the events that are scheduled either for today, this week, or sometime in the near future. Usually on a Google search engine results page, you will see the title followed by the actual URL and then a small snippet or a piece of text that explains or describes what that page or post is about. So I'm going to quickly break this down for you. The first one is called the title. The second one, of course, is the URL. The third one that I spoke about in terms of the description is called a snippet, right? Also in terms of meta, it's meta description. Apart from these, you will also see these 5-star rating or some events information right below that. Those are called rich snippets. Rich snippets are nothing but a little extra description of that piece of content. How do we do that? It's very simple. Google has made it so simple that you can just log into a tool called Search Console, and on the Search Console you have the option to use something called a Schema Markup. Okay? Use the Schema Markup and you can highlight certain parts of your content so that those pieces of content actually show up as a part of your Google search results. Imagine if your Google search engine results shows your website really lengthy or taller than the rest of the results, it's going to stand out. That's one way to grab the visitor's attention. Okay, so that's Schema Markup. Again, when we do Search Console, I'm going to go through exactly how to do that as well. Well, next we are going to move into the action, right? How to really implement SEO. That's what we are going to talk about. If you really want to succeed in search engine optimization, keyword research, on-page, off-page, blended search results, all that is important. But the very basic is your website. If your website is not easy to navigate, if it's not clean, if it's not sufficiently communicating what it intends to communicate, then you're going to fail. In this section, you're going to understand how your website should be designed, what are some of the factors that you need to keep in mind in order to have a great user experience. And believe it or not, user experience directly impacts your search engine rankings. So let's get started. Step number 1, if you want to have a really good user experience, make your content simple. Make your navigation simple. Make sure whatever you intend to communicate on your website is right there up front. Okay, now let's consider this. Imagine a website that's got tons of content. There are lots of navigation, like the main menu options, and it's all over the place. Imagine there is banners and widgets all over the place. Would you be comfortable navigating such a website? Or let us consider this, a website which is clean, very well organized in terms of navigation. You hover the mouse over and you're going to get very specific drop-down menu, a very clean logo, and right above the fold on the website, you see the solution that the website offers to you right then and there. And last but not the least, there's also a call to action. You know what is the next step of action. Between these two websites, which one would you choose? The one that is messy or the one which is clean in terms of navigation, simplicity in terms of communication, and a clear call to action? There's no doubt in my mind you're going to go with the second one. So remember that having a website which has enough white space, good content, and really offers the solution right up front so that the user, the website visitor, really understands what he or she is going to get on the website is going to be so much better. Now, apart from that, you also want to help your visitors, your website visitors, understand the content that is there, and then slowly direct them towards more relevant content that they would be looking for. Now, this can be done using something called internal and external linking. Think about this. You have a website which has 3 different products. Product A, B, and C. A website visitor comes to your website. They read about product A. While they are convinced, they're looking for something more. If you could very carefully direct them towards product B, chances are they will get to read that, and hopefully that will excite them, and hopefully they'll buy as well. The point here is that by having proper internal linking structure, you can direct your potential customers to the place where they could find value and where you can potentially sell to them. Not just that, sometimes you may not have all the content, all the answers for your users' questions. That's okay. There will be another website or maybe plethora of websites that have better solutions. That's fine. You can help your customers direct there. That is called an external link. You direct people to content that will be useful for them, but only the ones that are authoritative, that are legit, and that can truly help resolve your website visitors' concerns. Guess what? The next time they have a trouble, even though they did not get the solution right directly on your website, they will still appreciate the fact that you directed them to the right place, and they will actually come to you first. That's the beauty of external links. So remember, your website needs to be good in terms of navigation. Keep it simple, keep it clear. Your communication of what solution your website offers must be very clear at the outset. The user needs to know what is the next step of action, also called as a call to action or CTA. Then make sure your website content also has redirections, meaning they should be able to move from one page to another within the website or outside of the website, but the end goal should be customer satisfaction. Even if you had all the things about on-page SEO and off-page SEO and blended search results in place, if your website is not user-friendly, if the user engagement is poor, then you're not going to succeed at search engine optimization. Keep this in mind. If you want to really succeed at search engine optimization or SEO, make sure your website is your first step. Make sure it is simple. Imagine this: if there is one website which is messy, the navigation is all over the place, the content is all jammed together. And on the other hand, you have another website which is very simple. The content is simple. The navigation, the main menu is simple. There is enough white space in the content, right? There is some breathing space in the content. It's a very clear hierarchy. For example, you go to digital marketing. Under digital marketing, there is SEO, PPC, social media, and so on and so forth. You see, these are all going to play a big role in the user experience of your website. Okay, so in order to have a website that is really good in terms of user interaction, make sure your navigation is simple. 2, make sure there is enough white space, literally white space between text and lines and paragraphs. Those play a role. 3, let there be a clear hierarchy. Right? When you navigate from one page to another, there should be a clear drop-down menu that takes you to a specific page. Number 4, use something called breadcrumbs. Think about a website like Amazon. Amazon has crores of products. By having breadcrumbs, the user can actually navigate to the page that he came from. That way, he or she is comfortable going back to that page and navigating overall. So it's going to be a huge value addition in terms of navigation. Clarity of communication. Think about it. If you go to a website and you don't know what that website is about, would you rather stay on that website or go back? Chances are you're going to go back. you're going to need a website that really clearly communicates the solution that it offers right up front. So this is my suggestion to you. Build your website, make sure the website solution, whatever solution that you're offering, is very clear right up front, above the fold, as they call it. Right when you log in, what you see on the screen is called above the fold. Also, there should be a clear call to action. Users must know what is the next step of action. That's called call to action, or CTA. It's crucial that you have that. Last but not the least, within the content, if you have links going from one page to another, from one page to another post, a post to a page, it's going to be well constructed, right? Make sure your internal linking structure follows a very specific, sensible approach. Okay, it should be logical. You should connect product A to product B only if they are related and if it's going to add value to your user. Also, be generous in giving backlinks, but be careful. Do your research before you direct the visitors that come to your website to an external website, because the information they are looking for may or may not be available with the content that you provide on your website. It is totally okay. You can always direct to a higher authority, more powerful website that can actually add value to your user experience, to your website visitors experience. So keep these things in mind and you should be totally okay. Focus on user experience. It plays a big role in your search engine optimization success, in ranking high on Google search results. This section is going to deal with off-page SEO. When I talk about off-page SEO, I mostly talk about link building. Now, in the past, in the previous sections, I'm sure you'd have seen what keywords are and how to do keyword research. You would have also known how to use those keywords in your title tag, meta description, URL, headings, and anchor tags while linking and all that good stuff. Now we are going to talk about how to get those backlinks coming to our website. Again, I'm just going to go back a little bit in time. If you remember, in the section about how search engines work, I brought to your notice the importance of Google and the importance of Google's algorithm in your ranking. Google's algorithm, the first one ever, called PageRank, was built on the concept of backlinks. It was about how many other websites, external websites, point to your website, and that has an direct impact on you ranking higher on Google search results. Now that is crucial for you to remember, because off-page SEO or link building is all based on that. Ideal situation would be for you to create some amazing content, some great content that would naturally get you the backlinks. People should be able to read the content, feel so excited, so valuable that they will give a backlink to you. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen all the time. It's going to be a little difficult. So if you create great content, but you don't promote it, your website content is going to sit right there, somewhere in the ether. But if you really want people to get the best value out of the content that you created, it's important that you do a little bit of promotion, a little bit of marketing of your own content, of your own product and service and your website. How are we going to do that? What are some of the things to keep in mind? All that is what we are going to discuss right here in this section. So let's look at this. There are three parts to creating a link campaign. Okay, number one, you need to get as many links as possible. You understand that search engine looks for a lot of links, but not just any kind of link. It's about quality relevant link. Now, if I am doing something like baking training, like baking classes, if I get a backlink from a salon or a fashion industry about clothing, it may not be the most appropriate one, most relevant one. You see? So link quantity is important, meaning getting as many links are important, but even more important is the quality of the backlink, the relevance of the website that is actually giving you the link quality. Number 3, the link authority. Now, not all websites are created equal. Some websites can be spammy, and their value in terms of Google's eyes is pretty low compared to a government website or an educational website. You see, that's pretty high. Okay, so spammy websites, Google rates very low. Good, powerful, useful, valuable websites such as government and educational websites are pretty high. Getting backlinks from such authoritative websites like educational websites, like government websites, is going to be crucial for your backlink campaign structure's success. Okay, so make sure you campaign, your backlink campaign is very well strategized, well planned, and do it in a very structured manner, and you will see success. Now, link quantity, link quality, and link authority. Those are the things that you want to keep in mind while you come up with a backlink campaign. Now, let's look at the nitty-gritty detail. How do we get into getting the backlinks? How do I build backlinks for my website? There are many different ways. There is no one single set of instructions that you can follow which will say, okay, this is how I can get my backlinks. There are certain things that have worked for experts in the past and even now, and I'm going to cover 9 very effective ways that I and my fellow search engine optimizers have used and seen success. Number 1, outreach program. Now let's assume this. I'm writing about baking and cake decoration, and someone else, my competitor, has also written something on those same lines. And let's assume there is another entity C, another website C. Now this website is an authoritative website. Website C is authoritative website. They have given a backlink to my competitor, which is website B. I'm website A. I can go into website C, look at the links that have been given by website C to website B, and also look at the content that website B has got the backlink for. You see, there is this connection. I'm reaching out to website C, seeing where are the links that are given by website C, and I see that website B has got a backlink for some content, and I'm reading that content, and I think that I could do a better job. I know that website B has done a good job, but I can do a little better, right? So that's what I do. I actually create content that is slightly better than theirs, okay, and then reach out to website C to get the backlinks. I would do something like this. I'd send out an email telling that, dear website C, I see that you appreciate good content, and you've spoken so much about cake and bread baking and all that good stuff. I've written a blog post that is going to be super useful for your users. Please do check it out. If you find value in this, I would appreciate if you give a link to my website. It's as simple as that. Okay, but the question is, how do I know where did website B actually get the backlinks from? I use a tool called Open Site Explorer. You can go to Google, type in Open Site Explorer. Now Moz has come up with Link Explorer, which is a part of that as well. So you can go to moz.com, where you'll find these tools, Open Site Explorer or Link Explorer. Click on that. Put in the URL of your competitor. In this case, competitor is website B. I'm going to put their URL in there, and Moz will show me where are some of the websites from which website B has actually got the backlinks. Does that make sense? Just go to that tool, put in the URL, see what the results come up. Which websites have actually given the backlink? There you figure out it's website C. So you reach out to website C, send an email, tell them that your content, but first it's important that you create greater content. So put in the effort, create more valuable content, then reach out to website C, tell them this is what you've created, and if it interests them, they're going to give a backlink. So that's your technique number 1. Use the outreach strategy. Okay. So this is a great way to really reach out to certain websites that are giving backlinks to your competitor and get them to your website as well, or at least hope for that. Then moving on, we have the Web 2.0. So that's another great way to build backlinks. Certain websites like WordPress.org, or you can go to blogger.com. And there are tons of websites. Really, just go ahead and do a Google search for Web 2.0, and you're going to get a list of websites where you can create content. Again, don't expect it to be easy. You need to create original content, put it up there, and then give a backlink to your website. That can really help build backlinks. So number 1, it's about outreach programs. Number 2, make sure you get the Web 2.0 as a way of getting backlinks. Number 3, it's called social bookmarking. There are certain websites like Delicious, there is StumbleUpon, Dig, and tons of them. Again, social bookmarking sites allow you to put your URL in there and let the traffic through that website as well. So that's another great way to build backlinks. Number 4, I also look at directories. If there is not really spammy directories, just make sure you do your research, pick up the right directories that is relevant to your business. Again, the keyword is relevance. Make sure it is relevant to your business. Set up backlinks from those directories, and you could get your ranking higher on Google by building backlinks this way as well. Number 5, I also use blog commenting. So again, I would research a ton of blogs that are relevant to my business, that are related to the products and services that I do offer, and then I reach out to them, read their content, and I really share my views and inputs that'll be valuable, right? Something that truly adds value, not just going to a blog post and saying the content is great, I appreciate it, and then leaving a backlink. No, that is spam. Don't do that. Instead of that, really read the content, give some inputs that will add value to the conversation, or just share your views, even if it's contrary to what has been published. So that's still okay as long as you add value to the customers. That's a great way to build backlinks. Forums are another great way to build backlinks. Just like blog comments, you can go into forums that are relevant to your business, your niche, your products or services, leave valuable comments, and then get a backlink through the forums as well. So that's going to be useful as well. Then we look at classifieds. There are plenty of websites that are classifieds. If your website is relevant to that niche, make sure you list that in the classified as well. That way you can get some backlinks from the classifieds portal. Then we have the video submissions as an option, as a way to build backlinks. Video submissions is one huge part right now as a part of link building, because the whole world is actually focusing on the video marketing right now. Video marketing is going to be huge by 2020. It's just the numbers going to be exponentially great, who are going to spend a lot of time on videos. So be there. Building backlinks from video submission sites like Vimeo, YouTube, and a bunch of them will be really helpful for you in terms of building backlinks for the website. Last but not the least, there is something called Haro, H-A-R-O. Everybody on the internet or otherwise is looking for content. Help a reporter out. Haro stands for Help a Reporter Out. By reaching out to reporters and really giving them some very interesting stories, exciting them with something that they might find value in, you could get a backlink. Okay, so reach out to the reporters, they're looking for content, and if your content is so interesting and exciting, they're going to support you by giving you backlinks as well. While building websites and building backlinks, be strategic, okay? Particularly when it comes to backlinks, be aware that getting backlinks from government websites and educational websites can really empower the backlinking campaign. Your backlinking campaign can be so much stronger if you could get backlinks from relevant, good quality websites rather than spammy websites. If you could get backlinks from educational, government, and more relevant to your business kind of websites, it's going to be so much better.